Hello everyone and welcome back to the Horsey and Fox podcast. Today we're going to be doing some sweet chat about Final Fantasy XVI.
Indeed.
It's been out for over a month now, so it's probably a good time to chat about. It's taken me a long time to finish it.
I know.
Because I did like all the every side quest and all the fucking chronolith trials and all that stuff. It took me so long.
Jesus Christ.
There was no piece of content in the base game that was left untouched by me.
That's mental. That's mental.
I was loving it.
It has been a while since last episode.
That's true, yeah.
We were originally gonna... Well, like, the plan was that the next episode would come out, normal time, and it would be a spoiler cast, but it ended up taking you longer to finish than anticipated.
Yeah, it took me ages.
So
a month.
We just decided, we'll just push it back. And it got to the point where, looking back, it probably would have made more sense just to record the episode we were supposed to do. But, that's just how it be sometimes.
We can talk about...
That's crazy.
To be fair, yeah.
It's been over a month. What? Since the last episode?
Really? Fuck.
Yeah, June 20th was the last one.
I guess last time...
no, wait, hang on. Wait. What? Was that not... Wait, hang on, let me double check. Oh no, July 4th was the last one. Never mind.
July 4th? Oh, for a second I thought you hadn't uploaded the one after the June one. I was like, what?
No,
I was worried
it's been 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. It's not as bad. Not quite as bad as I thought originally.
Though, when you think about it.
But yeah, this episode will be dedicated fully to Final Fantasy XVI. So if there's anyone out there that hasn't finished it yet and wants to play it or is playing it and wants to finish it, then don't listen to this show because this is going to be all the spoilers.
It's true. I don't want any comments saying, "Oh, you fucking talking spoilers." It's called a fucking spoiler cast, right?
It's in the title. It's in the thumbnail. If you still listen, then you deserve to have the game spoiled for you, I think, actually, at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Fuck you.
It's natural selection, but for spoilers.
Yeah.
But
just
there's
Dickens
that.
wanted it to be.
Exactly.
No, not Dickens.
Wait, Dickens.
Charles Dickens.
Yeah, no.
Dickens
Classic
theory
Charles
of evolution.
Dickens. Classic Charles Dickens. Don't you remember In A Christmas Carol where he talks about evolution? It's really great. It's amazing.
Christ.
Scrooge is like a big proponent of evolution.
No, he sounds like he'd be an evolution denier, Scrooge.
Yeah, true.
It'd be a fucking flat earther.
Yeah, no, he's obsessed with like the creation myths and stuff. He loves that.
He does.
That's what Scrooge loves. He puts a lot of money into the church.
Character lore.
Yeah, Scrooge lore. But yeah, that's what we're doing this episode. So I mean, we can just kick things off right away, jumping straight into things. I mean, we talked a little bit about our initial sort of thoughts on the game, spoiler-free last time, but I guess to be still general, is like general thoughts now that you've finished it. What do you think of the overall product of Final Fantasy 16?
Well, I did love it. I do love the game. I had such a good time with it over the last month. The cast of characters were just insanely compelling and just lovable, and just I love the characters. The overarching narrative was very interesting. At every turn I was waiting to see what happened next and how the story could be escalated, because obviously we all know that Final Fantasy always escalates more and more and more until it gets to the point where it's just mental shit is happening at the end. Combat, it's fun, yeah, but there's a distinct lack of a lot of things. It's very bare bones, and the icons not having any elemental status effects and stuff was a little bit would have been cool if they did that and delved more into that. I also kind of would have liked it if we could use, instead of only being able to use maybe this would be unbalanced, but only being able to use 3 at once, we had a wheel we could bring up. Because I was so hyped at the beginning when I was like, I'm gonna get to use all these powers. It's like, at the time I can only use 3, so it's like now I have to pick 3, and the others aren't really worth using. So it's like
Right. Yeah.
It's like you get to a certain new icon, a bit like new icon that Clive like absorbs, and it's like see what the abilities are, and they're shit, and it's just like so now there's no point in using it.
Yeah.
Whereas if there was status effects, I'd have to change out my icon. I couldn't just rely on the same 3 for the entire game. Or if I had a nice little wheel, like a weapon wheel, I could switch between all of them. But that, again, would probably be a little bit unbalanced. That's probably why they didn't do it. But overall, the combat is really fun, like it is. I could have maybe done with some more variation in enemy types. Towards the end of the game, it was very much like, this is just the same archetype of enemy again, with like a new skin on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because a lot of the second half as well is like reusing stuff we've already seen, but it's Akashic now.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's like, we've seen this. It's the troll thing, but it's blue.
It's Akashic,
and that's like
super dangerous Akashic.
Yeah.
That can also be killed quite easily by the members of Northreach.
Yeah, true.
But no, overall I fucking loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun, a great adventure, really compelling characters, absolutely heartbreaking ending that we'll talk about later. Amazing visuals, some of the best boss battles we've had in modern gaming. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but it was a banger. It was a fucking top tier game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I agree with you. Definitely, I would say I think there's things holding me back from saying it's a masterpiece, but definitely one of the best games I've played this year. Probably the best game I've played this year.
It's up there for sure.
And it's, definitely, there's so much about it that it's got like so much going for it, and so much that's good about it. And it only sort of shows that, in the future, when this team gets to work on something else, like we're going to see like a development, and they're going to hopefully improve, take on the criticism, stuff like that. But I think one thing that I've been seeing people talk about that I just disagree with is that so many people are saying that the writing was just not there, that the writing just lacked. And I just didn't feel that. I felt that at every turn, the writing was doing things that made me just engage with the story more, and the characters and the world and just what was going on until you get to the end. And I feel like when everything comes together at the end, and we'll talk about the end more in depth later, but like the themes and everything just comes around, and it's just fucking just tremendous what they do with like the whole build up. And I think that, going through it again a second time, like, because obviously I've been editing my reactions down into videos, so I've got to sort of revisit the game again from a different angle when I'm like replaying it. Yeah. And you look at some of the stuff at the start, and I'm like, this is like even better the second time, because I understand like where that goes as like a character line, or like like what that means to the overall theme by the end, sort of thing. Like and I think that's really special about it, is that it has such replay value, and that when you revisit the game, you get to see it in a whole different light. And that's that's what the best stories do, is when you revisit a story that really resonated with you, it should get better the second time. Like it should be like, oh wow, like you don't have the shock moments, but what it replaces it with is like depth,
understanding.
And I think that's something that 16 really has going for it. I think that's one of the major parts of 16. And I think so to talk more about some more specifics, obviously we talked a lot about gameplay last time, so we can sort of skip over that. However, it would be nice to talk a little bit about specifically like the boss fights, like the specifics of like the moments that happen. Because obviously we sort of alluded to some like big moments, but there's a lot of like major moments that happen across this game. Like those are like, the major boss fights that you do. They're like the major story bosses. And they sort of ramp up and up and up, and there's like so many great spectacle moments. What was your favorite of the like major boss fights in the game?
It's probably a toss up between Titan Lost versus Ifrit, and Ifrit Risen versus Bahamut. I think those are the two strongest fights in the game. They were the most impressive to me, like the ones I enjoyed playing the most at the time. They were just especially Ifrit Risen versus Bahamut. I think that was just insane. like going to space and just like everything that happened with the crystalline dominion during that section, and Dion's sort of rebellion against his father and all that, and just it was just a fucking brilliant sequence. I loved it so much. And like Clive, what's his mother's name? I forgot his mother's name. But like confronting his mum,
Annabella.
Yeah. Just before the fight, like it's just so fucking good. I definitely think that boss is my favorite. Just for the spectacle. Although I do love Titan Lost. That's a fucking good fight.
Yeah, I think, definitely. I think Titan Lost was the first one where, because, I mean, when Clive first becomes Ifrit and fights Garuda, that's like, I mean, every single one is like...
God, I don't even remember that one very well.
Like, the full stop on every single one is like it being majorly important to like a majorly important character moment in one way or another, right? And I think that's what makes them all work even more. Like, the very first one... Yeah, where he first becomes Ifrit and fights Garuda, that's like him, like the awakening of like, oh, everything comes together, and it's like, hey, yeah. So now he has to realize that he's the one that killed Joshua.
Yeah.
And you've got that whole aspect. So like, there's that element of like, you know, it's fucking cool seeing Ifrit fight Garuda, and you've got control of that. But there's also that other part of you that's like, oh god, this is the same. This is the same like way he killed his brother. And it's like, you know, that's rough. So there's like that whole aspect to it, which is great. And then obviously the second one you've got, which is Ifrit versus Ifrit in the accepting the truth sequence, which again was just a incredible sequence.
I like that.
We can talk more about these, I guess, in depth after talking about the icon battles. But I think, no, I agree with you. Like, the Bahamut one is definitely a standout in terms of spectacle, for sure. I think my favorite fight itself, though,
like mechanically,
was my favorite fight mechanically was the fight against Odin. I think that was my favorite fight in the game,
against
where you fight
Barnabas. Like when, do you mean
against Barnabas?
You never fight him as an icon, do you? That never actually happens in this fight.
No, not like a full-on fight.
I suppose because Odin is just too big to sort of do anything with that. It's like, how do you even do that as a playable fight?
Yeah, possibly. But I
guess
think
they did it with Bahamut, so I mean, I don't know.
I think what's really good about it, though, is, I mean, mechanically it's really fun. Like, it felt like almost like a Kingdom Hearts data battle in a way. Like, learning the patterns, and it's just like, you know, a guy versus a guy with a sword. Like, it's just, you know, it's cool. Those fights are always my favorite. But I think what was also really nice about it is that thematically, like, Odin is, or like Barnabas is this, like, you know, soldier of God like God being Ultima. And it's like, you know, by just, instead of using like the power that was bequeathed to Clive by Ultima in the icons and in Ifrit, he beats him using his humanity. Like, he beats him with like just a guy, which I think is like really poignant for that fight. And it helps that like it's also fun as fuck mechanically to play. So that was like my favorite one. But Bahamut was definitely like the best one. Like, like, if we're talking spectacle, that's the most insane sequence in the whole game. Like, from like you said, from the moment where he confronts his mother, like, up to the very end of that sequence, it's just non-stop, just insanity. And that was just fucking terrific.
It's like when they fucking broke the atmosphere and went out into space, I was like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing this, and then fucking Bahamut unleashes Zeta Flare.
Like fucking Donald.
My boy Donald. It's
fucking
like the
insane.
only like 2 characters in the Final Fantasy universe to use that spell, and the only other one is in some other Square Enix game, right?
Yeah, I think it's Bahamut uses Zeta Flare in 14 in the what's that battle called? The one that caused the calamity.
Oh, I googled that. That ain't even Zeta Flare.
Is it not?
I don't think it is.
I thought it was.
I really don't think it is, because I was looking into Zeta Flare like earlier this month, and
interesting.
It said that it was the one below it. What is it? Terraflare?
Terraflare, yeah.
Maybe it was Zeta. I mean, it makes sense that it would be Zeta Flare, because obviously it ended the fucking world. But I mean, the wiki said that it wasn't.
Because I remember reading that, like, God, it must have been like a year ago now, and I've just kind of like kept that in my like memory banks, but it might be wrong. Like I don't know.
I mean, I always
I've never
assumed
like
it
questioned
was.
it, so
I've watched that
it
fucking cinematic
be something
cutscene
else.
too many times.
It's very cool, very cool cutscene. Really cool. It's very good. I love it. Fucking Answers is a beautiful track as well.
Ooh.
But
Exaflare? What is that? Exaflare. Oh no! I think it is Zetaflare. Bahamut Zetaflare in Final Fantasy XIV, the first ever use of Zetaflare, and perhaps the most appropriate demonstration of its power came from Bahamut in Final Fantasy XIV. So now I think you are right.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah, I don't know where I read that. Maybe I read it on Reddit and someone was just wrong. Because that's often
that might be the case.
Happens to me where I read something on Reddit and then it's wrong.
That is common. That's a common occurrence. Yeah, I don't blame you.
That makes more sense though. But yeah, Bahamut has unleashed his second Zetaflare in.
Yeah, and you've obviously got Donald Duck. Yeah, and then I think the other one's in like Brave Exvius or something.
It was like some little kid in like some other Square Enix game that I've never heard of.
It's
Bravely Default.
Is it Bravely Default?
I think it is. That name rings a bell to me. Yeah, Zetaflare was later repurposed and styled as Zetaflare in Bravery Default, where it was wielded by Aerie, a companion Christ fairy who goes on to betray the... That's a spoiler, I shouldn't be saying that.
Spoiler for what? For Bravely Default?
Yeah, what if there's someone playing it and going, I can watch the Final Fantasy 16 fucking spoiler cast, and they get a fucking spoiler.
True. I think it's Bravely Default not quite liked as well.
It may be. I never heard of it.
Let me have a look. Bravely Default. I don't know. Metacritic.
When did it come out? 2012. Come on.
Oh, it's got It's got an 85. That ain't bad.
That's crazy. It's got a little chibi art style.
Yeah, I've been playing. This is a separate thing, but I've been playing Octopath Traveler. I knew
you were going to say Octopath Traveler. I knew you were going to say
it's fucking good. I love it.
Yeah, I saw it
it's
on the
fun.
PlayStation Store the other day, just sort of sitting there.
It's really good. It's got like a job system and stuff.
I fucking go on to that.
Yeah. You definitely do. You definitely have a lot of Final Fantasy to play, and as well, like the biggest thing, the criticism I have for Octopath is that it the party members don't talk to each other. Like, they're in a party, but they don't speak to each other. It's really weird.
Fucking annoyed me about 16. You'd be running around doing these side quests, and you'll have like fucking Jill standing there next to you, and she just doesn't say anything. And it's like, why? It made me want to wait until it was just me and Torgal to do quests, because it was like, it felt weird that like Clive would just talk to himself and go, "Oh, I suppose I'll get that done then." And it's like Jill doesn't say anything. Jill,
because you can have them in your party and like have them following you around, but it acts as almost like they're not there. Yeah. That is definitely a thing.
It really bothered me.
Which is strange. Whereas in a lot of other, RPGs with party systems and people that follow you around, they'll comment on things even when it's like side quests and stuff. Like Mass Effect is a big one that does it. Like depending on who you take with you, they'll have conversations about what's happening in the particular quest, which...
That would have added so much replay value. Like, imagine, like, you tackle quests in a different order, and it's like, now I've got this character with me during this side quest to see what they say about it. It was just really weird. It made me consciously wait until it was just me and Torgal in the party to do side quests, because it was just really annoying having the other characters there not doing anything or saying anything.
Yeah, that does actually make a lot of sense. It does feel odd when it's outside of those major story moments.
Yeah.
When they're just kind of with you, and they're just kind of there, and it's like, it's kind of like cool at first. Yeah. Because it's like, they're with me, this is cool, and then you realise that, like...
They're not actually with
you. It's actually super awkward.
It's just like a husk. It's just a husk following you around. There's no personality there. There's nothing to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was disappointing.
I definitely felt that.
But we've already gone over the party aspects in general being lacking severely in 16, which I still stand by. Like, I would have liked to be able to, in the middle of a boss fight, be like, "Oh, Jill, use this ice spell," or Torgal, do something else other than fucking sick.
Sick or Ravage.
Yeah, which is, I know the use of Ravage now. You can use the juggle. Enemies.
I literally checked after the podcast because we were both like, we don't know, and then I checked and I was like, what does it do? And I was like, because I've been using Ravage the whole time, thinking it was like more powerful.
Same,
but it's not.
Yeah,
it
Sick
just
is like
flicks them into the air.
precision damage almost, and then Ravage is like just for singular enemies that aren't bosses.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Like I would like pair Sick with then charged like magic shot on it, boost them really high in the air so I could juggle them. And also I said there wasn't last episode. I said there wasn't an ability to like lift enemies. And if you charge your sword, then jump and let go of it, he does do that. And I use that all the fucking time. Like, I would always do that, double jump, and then do the slam down, and then do the extra slam after it, and does fucking tons of damage. It's insane. But yeah, I was wrong about that in the last episode too, so that's my bad. But
yeah, well, that's what comes with experiencing a game and getting more to grips with it. You figure those things out. Yeah. And it's just it's part of the experience. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to tackle talking about this game because I don't want to miss anything.
But it's so big.
Major, but there's so much there.
Well, maybe
I guess
we start at the beginning.
I mean, we could start at the beginning, but I thought, why not? Because a major, like, every major moment really is about Clive's journey. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, why don't we talk about first the supporting characters?
Yeah.
Or, like, what happened?
I just need my desk.
Oh, right. Oh, that makes sense. Talk about the supporting characters, but like not like Jill and Joshua and Dion and people like that, but like you like real supporting characters like
Sid,
Gav and Torgal and Sid and Mid and
Mid. Like, I fucking love their names. Someone
Karen
Mid.
And Mid. See that's the thing. Mid is from Final Fantasy V. And I had the same reaction to Mid when I played Final Fantasy V because you like walk into this room and your main character says like, "Are you Mid?" It's so funny.
I was like, I can't believe I'm talking to Mid right now.
Oh, it was great. It was very good. I liked that. But
what would you say is your favourite supporting character out of that
favourite supporting character?
That list.
I mean, I guess if we're including Sid in that, then Sid. But I guess we can't include Sid because I feel like because Sid is more like Joshua.
He's like
Jill,
a catalyst for the story. Like he's so important to the overall narrative that it is. Yeah, he's a main character. Sid.
He's like he would have been a party member that just like died early on, like in a traditional
Final
Fantasy.
It's like a main party member. It's like you think they're going to be there for the entire journey, but they're actually not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like. Yeah, then they just sort
of
kill
we'll
them
get
off
on to
early
what
on.
happened to Sid shortly.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And so I guess he kind of counts in that. But like these characters that like wouldn't have been party members, that maybe would have been like guest party members, but like wouldn't have been like mainstays.
Yeah. I think I know what you're gonna say.
Gav is probably my favorite.
It's Gav.
It's fucking Gav all loved over. Gav.
Everyone
loves
fantastic.
Gav.
It's fucking brilliant. Oh,
Gav was great, and there's a lot. I got a comment. Someone was like, "Oh, well, but Gav doesn't have anything about him other than like he's just there sometimes and like says like quips and stuff."
It's just so not true.
It's like to an extent, like I guess.
I don't think so. I guess maybe because I've done the side quests that involve him, so it feels like there's more to him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with this game. Like, it's very much like. And I think it's one of the things that will turn people off is like it is built very similarly to an MMO where like you're supposed to be sinking your time into it, like which you could argue is a fault. You could definitely argue that's a fault. Like maybe Gav's backstory or whatever, everything should have been like woven into the story. But I think he serves his purpose, and I think he's a great character, and you get some great little moments with him here and there, and like
I love him.
The way that like he was very devoted to Sid as well. Like I think Sid, Gav, and Otto, like those three characters and their history and stuff is really, really well done.
Like Otto's story alone of just being like the former commander of the Knights in, where was it? Was he in Sunbreak? Was that where he was?
I don't remember because he was like he was with Sid, wasn't he? Like,
it was in the army from the land that they're from, because Sid isn't from Valisthea.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Did you not fucking read the lore? Hippocrates is there for a reason.
I thought Sid was the Lord Commander of Waloed, though.
Oh. Well, maybe
you seemed so confident.
Wait, what?
What happened?
Wait, let me
well, I thought because when Benedicta said because remember the reason he left Benedicta and Barnabas is because he like disagreed with them. But maybe he came originally from like somewhere else.
But I just remember
like,
the distinctive line from.
Well, maybe that was before. Like
the wiki. Much of Sid's early life remains a mystery. He seems to have originated from the lands beyond the southern seas of Valisthea.
Right,
so he
but he was still Lord Commander of Waloed.
Yeah, I think he was. So he's not from Valisthea, and then he came to he landed on Waloed, and then that's where he lived most of his life until he became an adult.
That makes a lot of sense.
That makes more sense. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
So we were both right.
Yes, we were both right. But yeah, and like how they met and stuff was really cool, and like how that developed them. Like the side mission Payback that explores that is really, really nice.
That's the one. That's the one with Otto, right? Where he's
with the goblet.
The really cool scene at the end where it's just like, God, that shit had me nearly on the verge of tears.
Yeah, nearly on the verge.
Yeah, so like, I'm a man. I can't be on the verge, and I can't be crying, so I have to nearly be on the verge again.
you were like toying with the idea of maybe tearing up, but like you didn't quite.
No, I definitely teared up. I got all misty-eyed for that side quest for sure. We can talk about that a little bit later in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I think this game, like in terms of just the amount of times it made me cry, is the most of like any game I've ever played.
It is like it hits hard.
Like there was towards the end of the game, I feel like there was like it would be like I would cry and then it would be like 10 minutes and then the game would make me cry again. Like it just wouldn't stop. Like I thought it was over and then it would happen again.
The ending
and it was just
so rough. Oh my god.
It was a lot, and there's a lot to talk about with the ending as well because. There's a lot of theories and stuff flying around with it, which I think is interesting.
It'll be interesting to hear them because I thought it was pretty cut and dry, the ending.
Well, so did I, but I've heard some things, and I'm like, I quite like those interpretations. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Otto and Gav and all that stuff. But to talk about, I guess, another one of the supporting characters, you brought up Mid. I really like what they do with Mid in this game. I think she's used really well.
I think she's cool.
As like an extension of Sid, as like a, this...
Like a protege.
Sort of, like carrying his legacy and stuff, with the engineering and the building of the Enterprise, which is classic reference to Final Fantasy III's airship.
Oh yeah, I mean it's always called the fucking Enterprise, isn't it? It's like in 14, it's called the Enterprise.
Yeah, they often do use the Enterprise. Yeah.
Oh, not the High Wind though.
First in
that's a Kingdom Hearts thing, I suppose.
3. The High Wind is not. No, it's not. It's the airship in 7.
Oh, okay. So it's like a reference. I guess I haven't got to that bit, so I don't know. I didn't even know there was an airship in 7.
And it's also like a double reference because the airship is called the High Wind in Final Fantasy 7 because I guess I can't. It's a reference to Kane Highwind from Final Fantasy 4, who is a dragoon.
Oh, okay.
And dragoons are always they have like Highwind is a dragoon thing.
It's like Dion is like a dragoon, so he'd have like a spear and he'd jump about.
Yeah,
he'd do that weird jump.
That's the classic jump move. You jump in the air for a turn, and then the next turn you come down hard on the enemy. It's very cool. But yeah, that like Mid I think was just used very, very nicely in the story, and I think there was some nice moments. Like I really liked the 3 quests you do just after fighting Titan. The letting off steam quests. I thought those were really, really good.
You got to help her build the Mithril engine.
Yeah.
I like that.
I really enjoyed that.
It's just a nice bit of downtime. Like I just had an insane fight. We watched the fall of the Dhalmekian Republic, and it was like, okay, I need something a little bit more chill to sink my teeth into after that.
Yeah. I thought that was really nice, and that was like just a good bit. And you see, like at the end, like Otto's like, "Oh bloody hell, you let her get away," and she's like gone off to Canva, and it's like I quite like that because it's like she's running away from the loss of Sid. Like she doesn't want to confront it. She doesn't want to go to his grave because, like, it's
painful.
That's just because it's painful. And I like that. I think that was good, and I liked the relationship that she ended up having with Clive. Like
so
towards the end, like when you leave for Origin, like they give each other a hug, and like that's quite meaningful because Clive took on the name Sid, obviously. And, you got all that there.
Although the way Mid was introduced, it's like she's just sort of there. She just sort of
She
appears.
does just appear, yeah, and everyone's just like, oh, it's classic Mid.
That was my one issue with. I didn't know Sid had a daughter before that moment. I was like, who the fuck is Mid?
Yeah.
He does mention it. He does mention briefly, I think, having a daughter or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
But also, she's not his biological daughter. But like,
No.
she just sort of shows up, and I was like, wait, have I missed something?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I kind of like it because it's also like, I guess the major issue is more of like when she Wait, when does she show up?
It's after after Drake's head. Is that the one? After where the time jump happens, the 5-year time jump.
Is it just after that?
I think it's when you return from. You know where you're fighting after the 5-year jump and you're fighting those dudes, and then he's like, oh, I'm Sid the Outlaw, and he says all that stuff, and then you're like, oh, Clive Sid all of a sudden. It's when you get back from there, I think that's where Mid shows up.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I kind of like
so
that.
So it's like,
because,
I guess she was already there.
Yeah, it shows the passage of time. Like you're checking back in with these characters, but they've been active for 5 years, so like they know Mid and they know what's going on and stuff, and like they're all calling him Sid and all of that stuff.
I just speaking about him being called Sid, I love how they've had so many iterations of Sid. They were like, this time you can play as him. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's quite meaningful too, because Sid is this legacy character that's in every game. It's like a name that's passed on from game to game.
That's true, yeah.
For then Clive to, like, it's actually a thing in this game. Like, there's actually multiple Sids in this game.
Yeah.
I think that's quite cool.
It is very cool. It's like, that is now, within the Hideaway, that is a title that is passed down. That's just what the leader's name is. Like, just Sid.
Yeah, I think that's quite cool. It's a very like meta reference and thing. I think that's quite cool.
It's just very wholesome because it shows that, you know, no one forgot what Sid started. You know, they'd honor him by making his name the title that is inherited by the person that leads this. You know, the people that can't fend for themselves. I just thought it was really nice. It was weird at first because I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, and I was eventually just like, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I just wasn't sure if it was going to stick, and then I was like, actually, it does.
Yeah, no, it works. It works very well. I'm trying to think other side characters. I don't know, Torgal. Torgal has a little side quest. You gotta love
Torgal. Torgal's side quest is fucking great. I really liked it. That was another one that made me tear up.
Yeah, that got me too.
Because, you know, if you have a dog, or I guess if you have any form of pet, you understand how important that bond is.
Yeah.
And obviously, Torgal's always been there for Clive since day one, and just the moment where you go to his old hideaway and you see he looks at the wall and he sees himself as a teenager sort of storming off in there to like clear his head because his mum was like obviously really hard on him, and like seeing that Torgal had brought all that gear there and like his training sword, like it was just like, because I forget, like, because the time jump between, because obviously we played the demo and then we pick up from where that left off, so I forget that there was like 13 years where Torgal was looking for Clive. And it's like, it's that line where he's like, you never gave up on me, boy, and it's just like, oh,
I know, it's so nice.
He's like holds him and like holds his head against Torgal's, and it's just like they just embrace for like a moment, and it's just like so beautiful. I love that side quest. Just like simple moments like that where it just builds character and makes you feel emotions, you know. I just love it.
Definitely.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Super good quest.
I guess to jump in then at from where the demo ends and where the game picks up.
Wait, before we do, let's just talk about Jill, because we've done all the other characters. We may as well chat about Jill briefly. Obviously, we'll talk about her a little bit more. But she had her own side quest too, which I thought was really good.
Well, so did Joshua as well.
Well, yeah, but obviously, I guess Joshua's a different case because at this point we think he's dead. And I said in the fucking last, I was like, he's not dead, and you were like, I think he is.
Well, the game just did not pan out. The game did not pan out the way that I thought it would. Like, it completely took me by surprise. I was like, that is not what I thought this game was going to be about. But it made so much more sense what they did. Like, it's so much better than what I thought they were going to do, to be honest.
Yeah, it was way less predictable than I thought it was going to be, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Jill, her side quest before the end of the game was great too, where like
priceless,
their culmination of their sort of arc together, Clive and Jill. Obviously, you could see it coming from the beginning, like that very first scene where they're on the balcony at the beginning of the game. There's like the moonlight, and it's all like there's like gentle music playing. I was like, they're definitely going to be in a relationship by the end of this. But I just thought it was nice, going to searching for these flowers that she remembers as a kid. Oh, wait, what? No, that was Joshua's quest.
No, that was Jill's.
Was Joshua's quest again?
Joshua's quest is when you go to your father's grave.
Oh, that was also fucking so good as well.
Yeah, that was very good.
God, okay. Yeah, Jill's quest is really good. I liked it.
Much.
And then how when you go to Sambrec and you finally find the snow lilies, and like they're just standing amongst them, and they just like have a little kiss, and like you can see the flowers billowing around them, and like the oriflamme behind them. Just like
the music is so good too.
Yeah,
like
it's just such a romantic moment, and I thought it was good.
Great.
Like Jill and Clive work for me. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I think they work for me.
Yeah, I think
not the greatest romance ever, but
Yeah, and I mean, I think I like Jill a lot more after finishing the game. It took me a while. Like, she's a very reserved character. And I think a lot of her internal conflict and sort of character journey comes from, it's quite understated.
It is.
And subtle.
It is, to be fair, yeah.
I think ultimately I like that about it. I think the more time that goes by, the more I really actually quite like Jill.
It's because she never tries to outdo Clive's pain by going, well, this happened to me. It's like she's always just there for him, and obviously he's there for her as well, but it's like she'd already almost come to terms with her pain by the time Clive well, not really, but it's almost like, it's hard to explain what I mean, but it's like it's Clive's fucking story. Like, it's not about Jill's backstory, if that makes sense. Like, it makes more sense to focus on him than have a whole section of Jill where she's talking about, I mean, there even is. She talks about her time as Shiva, and with the, who was she enslaved
she has a
by?
whole arc and
the
stuff.
The Iron Kingdom, was that it? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
The fucking dudes that just die immediately, and they're never talked about again.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because Jill, like, it's difficult because I have there's two parts of me that feel two different ways, where it's like, one way, it's like the way that Jill is used to serve Clive's story, the same as every other character is very good, and that makes sense because it's Clive's story. But then this other part of me that's like, I don't like that it's just Clive's story, because Final Fantasy should be an ensemble cast who have equally as much depth as everyone else. And there's that part of me that's like, it's just like, it feels like missed potential almost.
I do think there is some missed potential with Jill for sure. I think there was parts of me that were left wanting, but overall I like her more than I dislike her.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, I have these criticisms, sure, but the game made me feel a lot, and I think that's what's most important. So it's like, I can overlook it. It's like I said before, I think it's more about if Final Fantasy 17 doesn't remedy these things, then I'm going to be a little bit is this just what Final Fantasy is now?
Yeah.
Which would be a bit of a shame, but I think for this game it does work. And yeah, like you said, the Jill side quest was really, really good.
It was good, and she has some good moments towards the end, and when she's sort of more in your party, the sort of beginning-ish middle section of the game, because there's a huge period where she's just not in it for a while, and doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. True.
But I think that's obviously because she pushes herself to such a ridiculous extent for Clive, so it's like she has to rest for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Jill too.
And I think as well with Jill, her, Jill's motivation, or what Jill wants, her end goal really is she just wants a life.
Yeah.
That's all she really wants. She just wants to be able to live her life.
Well, it's because ever since she was a young girl, she was taken, used as a reward for Rosalith, which she didn't even really want anyway, and then taken from Rosalith and used as a slave by the Iron Kingdom, and now is in a fight for bearers that she believes in, but wished she didn't have to. She just wants to live a normal life. She wants to win this fight so that she can just live, because she's never had it before. Yeah,
and I think that's quite a meaningful motivation. I think the fact that she is so passive is because she's been passive her whole life.
Yeah.
Like, it's all she knows is to just follow along with whoever the leader is.
Yeah.
It just so happens that when Clive becomes the leader, it allows her to open up more and discover who she is, because it's not like an oppressive leader that's like, you know, trying to control her and, you know, choose her future for her or whatever. So, like, that slowly brings her out of her shell. And, you know, we get to that side quest and it's sort of like, you know, she just kind of says what she wants ultimately. And it, like, just makes a lot of sense. It just feels right. And I think that's what's quite good about Jill as a character.
I liked her. I thought she worked, and she was cool. Couple of other side characters that I thought were cool were like Guts and Blackthorn and Lady Karen. Yeah, Lady Karen especially, I really liked, especially her side quests that were sort of more involved with her a little bit. I liked her a lot. Even though obviously she was a miserable cow for the entire thing, but it's like that's her personality. Like she's so hardened that she's like almost can't show affection, but shows it in her own sort of way where she's very sarcastic. I really liked Lady Karen. Hippocrates, absolutely great guy. I love him. I'd always just check up. He didn't even have any new lore. I just check up on with him because I like him in the shelves. Who else? Can't really think of any main characters.
I mean, we've not talked about Joshua or Dion.
Yeah.
But I guess they kind of play so heavily into the main story.
It's hard to talk about either of them without branching off into like 20 other different fucking topics. We'll get to those.
Let's just get start at the start. Let's just get into it, and we'll work our way through. Talk about these characters. So the beginning of the game, like we already did a spoiler cast on the demo. Yeah. We already talked about the demo. So, you know, where the game picks us up. I guess the game is sort of split into like arcs almost. Like you can kind of feel like where each bit like story arc starts and ends. Yeah. And the first one is really from that beginning to
what's it called? The Knights of Defile?
Yes.
Where Titan and Shiva clash.
Yeah. From there to, I reckon it's probably when Ifrit wakes up for the first time and you fight Garuda. That's probably your first major arc of the game. Yeah. Where you get your first taste, you get to meet the Hideaway, you get to see all those characters, you meet up with Sid, you reunite with Torgal, and you're off looking for this, you know, icon of fire, for this dominant of fire that we think, or Clive says he thinks is the one that killed Joshua, but there's also part of me that still thinks Clive knows what really happened.
He does.
Right?
I mean, there's a scene early on, I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, where Clive and Torgal are walking over this bridge, and halfway through the cutscene, Clive just stops and stares off into the water. And it's like he's contemplating suicide, and Torgal like whines, and then it sort of snaps him out of it. Like he knew already from the beginning that it was him.
Is that not after though? Is that scene not after he already turns into Ifrit?
I don't know.
That's when he's looking for the dominant of fire, but he's like, but it was me. I know it was me because I just turned into it.
But I think he did know anyway. I mean,
there are several moments though before he does turn into Ifrit where he stares down at his hand. He does it when he's talking about Joshua. He'll look down at his hand and like make a fist.
Yeah.
And he does it several times. And I think one of the times he does it is when Sid is talking to him about dominance and icons, and like he's talking about like, you know, when they get reincarnated and stuff. And it's like he just kind of gets distracted and he just stares at his hand. I do think Clive knew.
He was just in such a level of denial that it was like, well, I have to see this lead through, because if there's any possibility that it wasn't me, I want to make sure that it's, you know, that I know the truth.
Yeah, and I think he spent 13 years denying the reality because he like couldn't accept it,
and he didn't have a chance to investigate either, because obviously he was enslaved by the Empire. So it's like he just had to deal with it.
Yeah, to deal with it, he had to conclude that someone else murdered his brother, because there was like he was not in the state after what happened at Phoenix Gate to admit to himself that was me that did that.
No,
because he just couldn't.
No.
And I think it also, you know, there is a moment later on where he says like, like in the moment where he realizes and accepts the truth, he does sort of admit. He's like, I ran from the truth because I couldn't admit what I did or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, what did you think playing that sort of opening bit just up until you fight with Garuda? Like, what was your thought process of like where the story was going, and also like who this guy in the hood was too, and like, where that was going to lead?
At first, I thought that I was with Clive. I genuinely believed that Clive had the power of Ifrit, but it wasn't him that was controlling it. That's what I thought. I thought this other hooded figure was the man that awoke Ifrit in him at Phoenix Gate and was controlling Ifrit, and Clive was just watching. I still don't understand how Clive was just watching. I finished the game and I don't get that.
He wasn't though. He was Ifrit. Well, see, this is the thing, right? Because I don't know if the game explores this in any of the lore or anything, but he's just like looking through Torgal's eyes.
But how does he do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because we concluded before that, it is through Torgal's eyes. But I assumed now that it wasn't.
He never does it
eyes.
again.
Yeah. He doesn't ever do it again. It's never mentioned again. He doesn't talk about it ever again. Yeah. It's weird. And no other icons are able to watch themselves fight. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
I think there's several parts of this game that's a little bit weird. Like, the guy in the hood, right, is Joshua, but also isn't too.
It was like an evil version. I thought it was like an evil Clive at first. I was like, he's going to bring the hood down. It's going to be like an evil Clive.
And they do that, but obviously it's like in his head, right? Yeah. So but that's what's so weird about it, because when he after he realizes he's Ifrit, he keeps seeing this apparition of the guy in the hood.
Then he just stops seeing him.
But then he also sees the guy in the hood before he fights Garuda. I think what makes it so strange is that Joshua is also dressed exactly like this apparition that Clive keeps seeing.
Yeah.
Like, did Joshua know to dress like that? It's just for the audience, isn't it? That's the point.
Is. It's like,
it doesn't it makes no sense.
And then it's revealed, the hooded man's Joshua, and it's like, wait, so who was the one that Clive was seeing? Is that just his PTSD, or is that is that symbolism for something, or is it just a plot hole they forgot about?
It's literally just so that we don't know what's going on. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what that's for, which is a bit dumb.
It is a bit dumb. But I can let it slide because the rest of the game is so good. But
yeah, exactly. It's almost just one of those things.
Parts of it don't fit into the rest of the story, or like the
you think so?
What happens after the demo. I mean, sorry,
I think after it. It's interesting. It's mostly strange because you first see the guy in the hood at Phoenix Gate. That's the first time you see the guy in the hood.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that is an apparition, we find out.
Yeah.
That's something that he saw, right?
Yeah.
And so is the one when he goes back to Phoenix Gate and goes into the apothecary, and then the guy in the hood takes his hood down, and it's Clive, and that's when he has the whole internal conflict. Like, that was not real. But before Ifrit fights Garuda, Clive sees the guy in the hood, and Sid also can see the guy in the hood. So that was Joshua?
Yeah.
And so who was so that was Joshua, I guess. It must have been.
It must have been, because Sid saw him too, yeah.
Yeah, but then you get to the top of the hill,
He's not
and
there.
the guy in the hood is standing on the edge of the cliff, and then Garuda destroys the cliff. And it's like, oh, wait, so was that couldn't have been Joshua, because he'd be, dead.
Unless it was Ultima.
I just don't know.
The only explanation I can think of for all of this is Ultima did it.
I mean,
or maybe it was because Clive was Muthos. Something happened. I don't know.
Maybe Sid was also able to see the apparition too. It's just, I think the thing that makes it so confusing is that Joshua is just dressed the same as this apparition that Clive's been seeing. That's what makes it difficult to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it's there is no reason for it.
They should have just fucking had him wearing Organization 13 robes.
Yeah. Then it would have made more sense, because that's what they do in Kingdom Hearts. They've worked into the lore that everyone wears these same black coats. So it's not weird when you see two people wearing black coats.
Yeah.
But in this universe, in 16, it is. It's like, why is Joshua dressed exactly the same as this thing that Clive has been seeing for 13 years.
Yeah.
Like, why? And then as soon as you find out it's Joshua,
You
he
never see
doesn't
him again.
wear it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he's always just wearing his new outfit.
Yeah, it's weird. But you don't ever see that apparition again. Like, it doesn't go anywhere.
No, yeah. It just stops. Yeah. It is a bit weird.
It's got to be Ultima. It's got to be him, like...
Well, it
ooh.
is, yeah. I mean, it's like Ultima getting into his head,
Yeah.
right? That's the point.
I assumed it was leading him to Garuda, because it was like, well, he wants him to absorb the power of Garuda, so he led him to Garuda.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that
what I'm
makes
going
sense.
to headcanon that it is. It's.
But that makes sense.
It's Ultima. And also, I think
Yeah.
him seeing through Torgal's eyes may be something about Torgal being, like, you know, the Icon Wolf thing that's, like, you know, sworn to protect the Icons, just like they have a connection or something like that. That's the only thing that I can explain that away with.
See, the thing is, though, they explain that, like, Torgal has, like, a more of a connection to Jill.
Yeah.
So, like, it would make sense if Jill was able to do that. But I'm
It
like,
would.
why is Clive able to do that?
Yeah, it
and why
doesn't-
does he never do it again and it never comes up,
I
ever?
don't know. I just don't know.
It's a bit strange.
Maybe,
And
what if he's not even seeing it through Torgal's eyes? What if that's just what everyone's assumed?
Why is it green, though?
It's
got, like,
red,
a
isn't it?
green... No, it's got a green, like, tint over it.
Oh, shit.
Like, as if it's, like, dog colorblind vision. And also he
fucking
says,
know.
like, Torgal. He's like,
Yeah,
Torgal?
he does. Yeah.
So
What the fuck
Torgal's
does that
right
mean?
there, and Torgal's not seeing, like, Torgal's not next to Clive because Clive is Ifrit. So it doesn't make sense. It actually doesn't make any sense. I have no fucking clue.
Jill isn't at Phoenix Gate, and she would be with Torgal. So why the fuck is Torgal there?
Yeah, I have no idea what, like... The only thing is, maybe Clive wasn't... I was going to say maybe Clive wasn't seeing through Torgal's eyes. Maybe it's just us. But then he's
like,
watching
acknowledges
himself...
it.
Like, he believes, like, he's watching Ifrit kill
Yeah.
Joshua. It doesn't make sense.
Weird.
I can overlook it because the rest of the game is so good, but it genuinely doesn't make any fucking sense. Someone needs to explain that.
Yeah,
someone in the
someone
comments
please,
explain
honestly,
that.
'cause I don't
Someone
get
must be able to explain that.
it. It was
because
all
do-
Ultima, okay? That's my only explanation for it.
It was
all
Ultima
Ultima
magic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's the whole beginning bit, and you've got then, you know, the aftermath of him turning into Ifrit and realizing, you know, what he is. I also have the question that I need to ask, which is, why was he naked when he's chained up? Because
wait, so this is the second time he turns into a Ifrit?
yeah, well, when he fight just after the Garuda fight,
Okay.
and he has to be stopped by Sid.
I
He
don't
turns
know.
into Ramu. Then we
stripped
see
him.
him. Yeah, like he did. Literally did. He did because
Other icons have gone back to their human form and their clothes haven't been gone.
yeah,
Okay,
and
this
Clive
is
does
getting
too.
ridiculous.
Clive does that too.
Yeah, he does do that. This is getting, that's got to be just for the sake of something. I
It's
don't
because
fucking know.
it's because it's more dramatic of a scene.
Yeah, if
like
Clive is naked, yeah.
yeah, it's like supposed to be symbolized that, like, oh, he's lost everything, like he's
Yeah.
hit rock bottom. But like I get it thematically, but like logically, why? Like Sid had to have
Yeah.
taken all of his clothes off.
Yeah.
That's the only answer.
That
Which is mental.
Yeah, that's the only logical answer, like, in world, that Sid stripped him and then chained him
it's
up.
so funny. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And then he literally comes in and gives him his clothes, and he's like, "Put your fucking clothes on." It's like, why'd you take them off then?
Put your fucking
Like-
clothes on, Kenway. It's fucking Charles Vane. I want to go back to
It is
Sid real
Charles
quick, because
Vane.
when I heard his voice, I was like, it's fucking Charles Vane.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
Sid so much, though.
The funniest thing is too, he plays Finchy in the UK Office, which is really
Finchy.
weird.
Oh god, he does, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Chris
watched a tiny
Finch.
bit of The Office, yeah, and I remember his character. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that like bullies Ricky Gervais's character. Well, like Ricky Gervais's character loves him. Looks
That's
up to him like his
amazing.
idol. It's-
Ricky Gervais's
yeah.
mate is in Final Fantasy. But yeah, going back to just Sid in general, like as a character, I loved him immediately, like just
Yeah.
straight away, directly off the bat.
Yeah.
When does he
It's got a
say that
great
line
theme.
where he's like, "Oh, if you find out this hooded man didn't kill your brother, then kill yourself," or whatever. The
Oh
fuck
yeah,
he
that's
says.
that happens just following when he's chained up and shit.
Yeah.
When you first go out and you go to look for the dominant of fire or whatever, and
Yeah.
Clive's like, but Ifrit is me.
Yeah.
And then Sid's like, well, we're gonna do it anyway because Gav's taken the time to look for him. So there's that. Yeah,
Sid is just so based. Like, it's so
Sid's great.
fucking good.
Yeah.
Like,
I
love it.
I think as well, the way Sid works his way into Clive's arc, like, you see, after the time skip especially, you see so much of Sid in Clive.
Yeah.
Like, it's so well executed. Like, especially when you go back and you see the beginning of the game, you're like, God, Clive is so different from the Clive at the end of the game. It just feels like such a different character.
Yeah, like, he's so like young and naive and unsure of himself and just broken, like, because obviously he's had such a hard life up to that point, and Sid almost puts him back together. And
Sid is like that push that he needs to find a purpose and to decide what he's going to do with himself moving forward.
It was
like
a
Sid's
guy that
very
he didn't judge him at all for anything. He was just like, look, I'm chill with you, you can come with me and we'll work it out. Like, it's just the perfect dude that Clive needed. Help him.
And there's a very, like, he has that conversation with you outside Martha's Rest when Clive and Jill are on their way to Phoenix Gate, where he says, like, you know, about saving himself, and he might still be able to save himself and whatnot. And I think that's just like, Sid was just such like it's the exact like sort of figure that Clive needed at that point in his life. It just makes so much sense for him to be that character that's there for him. And like, he never judged him and he never forced him into anything. Like, he was never like, oh, you need to make sure you join us. Like, he was just like, look, if you want to, then we'll have you, but if not, then it's fine. Like, you could do whatever you want to do.
You can die on his own terms.
Yeah, and I really like that they have that conversation at first where Sid talks about, he has that thing where he's like, the reason I'm fighting is because we should have a right to die on our own terms. And after Clive comes to terms with what's been going on with him and who he is, he then instills in Sid the idea that we should actually be fighting to live on our own terms. And that's such a great moment.
It is,
that just works so well.
And they do the oath. Oh, that happens way later on, actually. That happens way later on.
That does happen later on, yeah. Because the bit when they talk about living on their own terms, that's when they first play the Final Fantasy main theme, which is really nice. No, not that one. That's Prelude.
Is that not? Oh, okay. What's the Final Fantasy? What the fuck is
the Final Fantasy main theme? Is the one? It's the one that plays at the end of Final Fantasy 15.
No, I do not remember that game that well.
It goes like fuck, I can't even think of how it goes now. It's like my mind's blanking. All I can think about is Prelude.
I thought the fucking main theme was Prelude. It plays in all the fucking games. It's the main menu.
Nah,
theme for
Prelude's
all the
Prelude.
Games.
The main theme is the one that's like shit. I can't. How does it go?
I don't know.
It's like, why can't I can't even think about it. I can't even visage it in my mind anymore.
Oh, it's a fucking
It's
good
so
main
iconic
theme then, isn't
too. No, it's fucking good. How does it go? It's the one that's like, it's like
oh yeah, yeah, that's a banger. That's a banger. I did not know that was the Final Fantasy main theme. I had no idea.
Yes, it is. It's called Final Fantasy, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I can imagine it in my head now that you've hummed it so eloquently for me.
Thank you. I tried my best. But yeah, that's that whole segment. I mean, so to talk about, I guess, the next major beat is the accepting the truth.
Benedicta. Didn't even mention
fuck! There's too much! There's so
much.
Benedicta is a really good character, and I like her a lot.
I like her. She reminded me of Cersei Lannister a little bit. I like the scene where she just wants to fuck around and shoots a big blast of air into those dudes for no reason, and then calls them a wanker or something. I don't remember what she says, but it's like she's pissed off about something. I don't remember what it was, but it's like she's like with her guards and they piss her off, so she just fucking blasts them with air for no reason.
Yeah, that's the thing I really like about Benedicta. Is her character is almost like that. Like, you can tell because her and Sid had a relationship and they were together and they were like on the same page, but they separated and went off and did like polar opposite things, but for like the same reasons. And the reason was that they both felt powerless. Like, Sid felt powerless, and so he uses that to fight for the bearers and to fight back against the system and the society they live in. Benedicta feels powerless, and so she does everything she can to grasp as much power as she possibly can.
She joins the side of the powerful instead of fighting against them.
Because it's like the safest for her. Like she's just so scared of being powerless again that she's like doing everything she can to play it as safe as possible.
Yeah.
And like that's why she teams up with Barnabas, and that's why she fights for Waloed, and that's why she just like tries to keep in line, and that's why she like does what she does, where there's that guy that's like, oh, do you not think I've been loyal or whatever, and she just kills him. Or like the guy that brings Clive back into camp and she kills him straight away. And that's why she also freaks out as soon as she loses Garuda. She doesn't know what to do, because she's like, I'm gonna lose everything. Like I'm completely powerless now that I've lost the one thing that like gave me any sort of status.
That was super interesting. I liked that scene,
which was good.
Performance was insane as well. From
really
whoever
good.
played Benedict, I don't know who it was, but just you feel pity for her. It's like this woman that causes so much sort of anguish and is so like antagonistic, and you still feel pity for her in that moment, because you understand why she was grasping so hard in the first place. And then the whole fight with Garuda, obviously, that we talked about briefly about it earlier. Ifrit fucks her up, obviously, because he's a fucking absolute shad. And then the scene after the fight is also
it's
really
where you get
emotional.
to see Odin and Bahamut.
Oh, that's also a fucking sick scene. Yeah,
that is a great scene.
That was insane. I wish I would have seen them clash again, to be honest. Like, that was just amazing.
Very, very
two
cool.
of probably the most powerful icons in Valisthea.
It's the icon of light and the icon of darkness. Both clashing. It's fucking awesome.
Super cool. Like the two mightiest sort of kingdoms in the twins. And their sort of figureheads fighting on the battlefield was just super cool to see. And then after the scene directly after you defeat Garuda, where Sid confronts Benedicta, is also really good too. It's great. And there's that shot. It's like the last sort of life ebbs out of her, and like there's that shot of just Sid walking away sort of solemnly. And it's like
so good.
That scene, you sort of understand in that moment their dynamic together, and it's like, it's a shame that she couldn't have just changed her mind, because he was willing to forgive her for what she'd done, but she just wouldn't accept the forgiveness. So it's just like, it's just a shame that they couldn't have made amends. And
and it goes to show, like, that's what the society they live in does to people. Like, that's what drove Benedicta to be the way she was the way the world is, and that, like, again, solidifies Sid's goal and his fight, and that of Clive too. So I think that's very solid arc.
Very good.
That first arc.
Very good.
Very
good. Was, and it just leaves you wanting more, because it's like, well, if that's the first sort of proper arc of the second arc of the game, I suppose, because the first one is from the beginning to Phoenix Gate. If that's like the second arc of the game, well, technically the first arc of the main game, it's like, what else is there after this, that can come? Like, it's just such a strong fucking start. And then obviously Sid takes us back to the hideaway, because Clive's like, gotta go with him. Or is this when Clive...
This is when they go back
Clive
to the hideaway.
Clive had already decided that he wanted to join them, hadn't he?
No. This is Clive wakes up naked for some reason, and then he says, he's like, I can't, like, I need to figure myself out, and like do what, like, I need, like, because that's when Jill wakes up, and he goes and speaks to Jill, and they decide to go back to Phoenix Gate. And that's when they go off, and you go to Martha's Rest for the first time, which is just a fucking vibe. Like,
I do like Martha's
so
Rest.
Cool.
It was
I loved wandering around that town and listening to the music, and just it's just so nice. It would have been nice if you could have slept at the inn and stuff.
And had a little drink,
little things like that.
It's an RPG, for Christ's sakes. Come on. Give me some RPG
in. Damn it.
Honestly.
But you get that, and then the next sort of, like, I guess, major thing that happens is when you get to Eastpool, and you meet up with Hannah, the husband of Murdoch. Which is that's again, like, that's Clive's, like, the consequences of his actions coming back bite him.
It's like he has to face this woman that, you know.
Yeah.
So, Murdoch was there at Phoenix Gate, right? And it was because of Clive that he died.
Clive killed him.
He was caught in the blast that sort of destroyed all the, you know, the rubble and stuff like that. So it was his fault. So he had to face this woman, knowing that he was the cause of her pain.
Yeah, and she doesn't know as well.
Yeah, because she's like, "Thank God you're back, Lord Rossfield. Like, I've never thought I'd see you again." She's the one that gives him his father's clothes, right? Yeah, that scene's great. Because obviously I was like, God, when's Clive going to get his outfit that he's wearing on the front cover? And he finally gets it, and it's like, oh, look at him.
It looks sick. It looks so sick.
Yeah, and his huge chest is just fucking... You know, that shirt is barely fucking hanging on, dude.
Yeah, it's it's great. I love it.
Oh god, yeah, but yeah, he looks super cool. He's got those sick gauntlets and like, the nice like cape. Just looks super cool.
It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And that's also just before that is when him and Jill have their first sort of like heart-to-heart conversation.
In the
I guess
infirmary
like a barn
thing.
or something.
Oh wait, am I thinking about the wrong scene?
The one at night
when they're sleeping.
They can see the moon. Like they're sleeping like outside.
Yeah.
I think it's in a barn.
Yeah, it's like a derelict building with no roof.
Yeah, and they're looking up at the moon, and like it reminds Clive of when they were, you know, kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just like a really nice moment between them. It's like the first moment where you're like, oh, like you can see something between these two.
Yeah.
And it's like it's very clear that Jill is gonna be an important like, you know, rock for Clive because he needs that person there. Like obviously he's got Sid and he's got Torgal and like these people that are willing to support him, but Jill is a bit different. And
because Jill is like there from the... I guess Torgal's there from the beginning, but she's like a person that he can confide in.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. Yeah. And I think that's the first time you see that and you're like she instills in him a sense of confidence that he needs.
Yeah, it's almost like as much as Sid is helping, you know, Clive, it's like Jill is also there to spur him on and make him realise that his life isn't just worthless and that he should die.
Yeah,
like she's there to like he should be there for her.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. And that is then what leads us on to returning to Phoenix Gate.
Yeah,
where you have, you know, your first interaction with, you know, going to a fallen dungeon, and that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Very Final
very
Fantasy
14.
1.
Well, I was going to say the dungeon
and
design
14,
is very 14 because just the fucking corridor.
True.
But we've talked about that already, I think. I think we talked about that before.
We have,
didn't we?
We did talk about that.
But that's okay.
But the culmination of that dungeon is, of course, Clive's introspective moment where he has to confront what he did.
Oh, and he's like... Is that when he holds his head and he's like, ah? And then he goes into, like, a trance?
Yes. Yeah, everything goes black and white.
It's the classic Final Fantasy thing of the main character holds their head and there's a loud noise, and that's what the plot
is. That the classic Final Fantasy?
Yeah, it happens in
true.
14.
I mean,
it happens in 7.
It happens in 7. It happens
every
in 7,
fucking
and
one I've played.
Yeah, 14.
And it happens in 15 as well, multiple times.
Yeah, right. Okay, fair enough.
Every Final Fantasy, it's 4 for 4.
They do it a few times. Yeah, it's all true. It's also in 8. It happens in 8 as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they do that. But yeah, that is what happens, and we then have this moment where Clive is in this like apparition of Phoenix Gate.
Yeah.
Where he sees before him Ifrit killing Phoenix. And he has to admit to himself what happened. And I think it's just like that moment, that whole sequence is one of the greatest depictions of coming to terms with or accepting like the guilt and trauma that has like festered in you for like over a decade.
Yeah.
Like him being able to come to terms with that and admit what he did and confront it.
Yeah.
Is just so like well executed.
It's a very powerful moment. Because it's like he finds this resolve.
Yeah.
And he just faces it, and he's like, you know what? I did it. And I've got to deal with the reality of it.
Yeah, it's like the truth of the matter is he killed Joshua. And he is Ifrit, and he is this dominant of fire.
Yeah.
And he has to accept that. If he has any hopes of continuing, he can't keep wallowing and being like, oh no, what did I do? Like, he has to take responsibility and be like, I did do this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to define me forever.
No.
Like, I can do something more with this and, you know, push on and, you know, make some sort of change.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good. And I think it's you know, very similar and mirrors in a way. And other people have said this too in the comments of my videos and stuff, but there's a moment in Final Fantasy IV that's very similar, which is you know, this moment, if anybody knows it, I won't spoil it for anybody, but for anyone that knows Final Fantasy IV, the moment Cecil has in Mount Ordeals, it's very similar, but almost like a reverse of it. And I think it's really cool to see that here. It's very similar. And it allows then Clive to... It's almost like Clive broke his like mind into two halves when he killed Joshua. It's like there's the part of him that knows what happened and the part of him that's been running from it. Yeah. And they both like come together to like destroy the guilt that is within him.
And
like,
obviously that's symbolized by the Ifrit, the evil Ifrit that shows up. Which weird. I mean, I think in our last podcast as well, I also likened the story with the icons to Naruto. And once again, this scene is very similar to something that happens in Naruto, where... Because he's got this demon fox inside of him. He goes into this... Yes!
He's got this demon fox inside of him. Could you imagine that? Imagine having a demon fox inside of you. That's you when you do something...
It's me when I'm evil.
Like, out of pocket.
We've all got that demon fox inside of us, alright? It's just waiting to come out. But there's like this moment where I think it's not in the same way where he's... Well, I guess it is, because for his whole life as a kid, he's known that there's something wrong with him. And everyone shuns him because they know this demon is inside of him. And he comes to terms with it. And it's also the same sort of situation where he fights the fox inside of him. It's like where Clive fights Ifrit inside of him. It's very similar in that sense. And they both have very similar moments where it's like, oh, I've got to fucking get a hold on this or I'm done, sort of thing. And they're both very powerful moments. It's just weird that I've been able to draw two comparisons between Naruto and Final Fantasy XVI.
If it happens a third time, it was on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. As they were copying
That's the
Naruto.
rule, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a really good moment. Just the music, the way it swells. And like...
Oh my god, Find the Flame.
Like he draws his sword and he's just... Oh, God, it is.
It's incredible.
And it has that little motif, whatever it's called, from 14. There's like a dungeon in 14 or something that has... It's like the bit that goes... Dun, 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 oh, how does it go? Dun, 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 dun. That bit.
Yeah.
Like that was originally in 14. If you listen to the 14 version, holy fuck, it's the biggest glow up ever. It's
classic Final Fantasy. Soken is just channeling his inner Uematsu and reusing melodies.
Did the soundtrack for Final Fantasy.
All of them.
All of them? Okay.
He's the original composer. Yeah.
Okay. I see. What's the most recent one that they've done?
He did 7 Remake was the most recent one.
Okay, that makes sense that he would be the one to do that. And then it was
but
the woman
before
that did 15,
I think.
Right?
Yeah, Yoko Shimomura did 15.
Yeah, she did bits. She did a good job.
Yeah, she's Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, fucking course.
Yeah.
Fucking legend. Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. That's one of the best parts of 15 is her soundtrack because she's fucking incredible composer.
Genius, yeah. But the moment where Clive, just the music swells up and he draws his sword, and it's just like, right, let's do or fucking die.
Yeah, I love it. There's so many like great moments. Like Clive has a lot of fucking good one-liners.
He does.
I will say.
He does.
It's like there's that moment. That's when he like activates the like. Well, I don't know if it's when he activates the limit break or when he pulls his sword out. But he says like you're not Ifrit, I am. And that's when he like transforms. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Oh,
it's very cool.
Yeah, that whole section was really fun.
Yeah, just some really good shit. Like I like particularly there's one shot I really like from that sequence where it's him standing next to younger Clive.
Oh,
and
yeah.
younger Clive transfers the flame from his hand to older Clive's.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I think that's a great...
It's like him finally trusting himself with the flames that he's been running from his entire life. Like, you know...
Yeah.
This older version of himself going, you can handle this now. Like, you don't have to leave it behind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very, very cool. And that's obviously just like a fantastic sequence where Clive comes to terms with that. He doesn't let go of the trauma. Like, it's still there. It's not, what I like about it is it's not this moment of him letting go and being like, okay, now we've moved on, let's just move on. Like, it's always there. He's just not letting it define him or crush him or push him down, like, which I think is quite nice.
Yeah, it is good, because, at the end of the day, you wouldn't just get over killing your brother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You can't just say an epic line and then just get over it. Like, it remains, but you can, he was able to deal with it better because he found this new sense of resolve.
Exactly. And I will say, just to put it back a bit, because there is a bit that happens before this, which is where Margrace takes his hood down, and you realize, well, I don't know. I didn't realize it was Joshua.
Really?
At first. Yeah, no.
He has the same fucking hair.
Yeah, I know. It's obvious, like, in hindsight. It also plays Joshua's theme, too.
Oh, I wouldn't have noticed that, but I was like, straight away, like, that's obviously Joshua.
But I was convinced he was completely dead.
I mean, I don't even know how he came back. I don't think they ever explain it.
They don't ever explain it,
He's
which
just
is another
Phoenix.
issue, but that's fine.
It's okay, he Phoenix. That's his.
You literally
job.
could have explained it as that. Someone could have just said that.
Yeah,
like it's the flames of rebirth.
Yeah,
like,
they could have just said that so easily.
But they didn't. They decided not to say it.
And maybe
like,
it was
he just
so
survived.
Obvious.
Maybe.
But I guess it's not, because it's like you see Ifrit like tear his wings off and like stomp on his face. I was like,
and then he impales him, and then it blows the whole place up.
Yeah.
Like, it leaves a huge crater.
Yeah.
Like, where did Joshua go?
Yeah.
Like,
how did he escape that?
Yeah.
And how did Yote get him out of that? I don't know.
I don't know. It's another one of those classic
disbelief.
Final Fantasy moments where, like, don't think about it. It doesn't matter.
Oh god.
It's classic Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you knew it was Joshua.
Yeah, straight away.
Okay. What I thought, because I'd also convinced myself of this, is that it was like a reincarnation that just looks like Joshua. Like, that it was the next Phoenix that was like, as Joshua died, it immediately reincarnated or something into like someone else.
I mean, that also makes sense. Yeah.
That's what I thought, and I didn't realize until the moment at Drake's head.
I just thought,
cool.
Yeah, Drake's head. I just saw blonde dude with blue eyes, who's been mysterious for the entire game.
Blonde.
Well, he's pretty much blonde.
It's ginger,
It's not
like
really,
fire.
though, is it? That is not ginger.
Yeah, it is. Joshua's got red hair.
A really light ginger. When he's a kid, it's way more ginger than when he's older. It looks blonde.
Hang on, I'm googling it. I'm searching it. Joshua Rossfield. That's red, dude.
Fucking search this shit up.
Look at this. I'm sending it to you on Discord. This picture. It's red.
Oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
It's
I don't know why I always saw it as blonde. I don't know why. It's strawberry blonde, alright, because that is not fucking ginger. I've seen people way more ginger than that.
It is complete ginger.
But he needs to sort it out, because he's the icon of fire, and I've seen people in real life that have more ginger hair than that. Fuck you, Joshua.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah.
But yeah, that was that whole sequence, and what that then leads to is you go back to Eastpool, and you find out that Annabella's sent guys to just slaughter everyone in the town because they found out they were, keeping bearers and stuff.
Yeah, that was a horrific moment. It's like this horrible fucking just massacre.
Yeah, the massacre of the town. But what it leads to is Clive decides at that point that he's going to join up with Sid, and that they need to make a difference because of how much of a problem it is. And part of that comes from, like, it's a build up of events, of seeing the bearers in the church at Martha's Rest, of meeting with Hannah, of talking with Martha and what she does for the bearers.
And even when he was a kid, when he that bearer knocks into him or whatever, or what is it? What is it that he does? I don't remember that scene, but
he drops an apple on the ground.
Yeah, and he's
and Clive picks it up and dusts it off and gives it back.
Sees the way that his master's treating him, and he's just like, it's okay, like, lift your head. You don't need to.
Yeah.
It's like all of these things have culminated to him being like, okay, so this is clearly a root problem of the world that we live in, that bearers are not free.
And as well, he feels some responsibility learning that his mother is the one that ordered the slaughter of Eastpool.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's this, like, he's like, I'm partially responsible because my mother did it. So it's that, that moment where he then goes back to the hideaway. And also that's the point where we see that somebody I assume it was Harvard sent Kupka Benedict's head in a box.
Yeah.
And said it was from Sid.
Yeah.
Which is
obviously to enrage the boy.
Yeah. And Kupka sends his bloody man out to find Sid.
Yeah.
And deal some damage. And that obviously comes back around later, but
it does.
From this point on, this is obviously where we get the oath.
Good scene.
Where they stab the daggers in the crystal,
God,
which is
so fucking good. I just love the symbolism of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sid and Clive's dagger just like protruding out of this crystal. Because obviously, the big thing is that Sid, believes that the mother crystals are causing the blight, which is like a huge thing. Because obviously they're seen as, like sacred things, and everyone worships them. And everyone needs them to live in the way they are currently. Like the world runs on crystals, so it's like to find out that we're gonna have to destroy the mother crystals. It's like that's crazy. And it's sort of in a way reminded me of like Final Fantasy VII destroying the Mako reactors to save the lifeblood of the planet, whatever it is.
There is a very similar sort of thing there. I think that's one of the things I love about this game, is that there's parts of it that are taken from like all of the Final Fantasies. I don't know whether we talked about this last podcast, but I definitely have talked about it before, which is that like you've got the evil empire like in Final Fantasy 2, you've got obviously all the crystals like you've got in Final Fantasy 1, you've got the focus on summons like in Final Fantasy 4 and 6 and 9, you've got the planet being sapped of all of its like life stream and whatnot, like in Final Fantasy 7. I
guess like almost like Final Fantasy 1, you've got the fantasy setting with the sort of futuristic stuff that's sort of from an old civilization.
Exactly. And as well, X-Death from Final Fantasy 5 is very similar to Ultima in a lot of ways from 16, and there's all these little bits that feel like it's been sort of like just little bits just picked from all of the Final Fantasies, which I think is quite cool.
Because it's almost like 16 is almost like a reboot. It's like after the sort of fucky time that Final Fantasy has had over the last however many years, it's almost like Final Fantasy 16 is like, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
It's sort of fitting that it has all these aspects of the other games in there.
Yeah, which I think is very nice.
Yeah.
Which is great. But moving on from that, we get the next major sequence is when you head to Oriflamme to go into to get the first mother crystal.
Yeah.
Which is
what's it called?
Drake's
something
head. Is it not Drake's head?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, because that's like the most important one.
It's the one at the top. Like it's shaped like a dragon. Right?
Is it?
Is that not why it's called that? Like, no, I mean like the whole the continent is.
So, is
like,
it?
Drake's head is at the top. Drake's fang is like at the bottom. Drake's spine is like.
What's the one that was in the Northern Kingdoms called? Drake's Eye?
Don't know.
All Mother Crystal names, Final Fantasy 16. I need to know this. No. What? That's 14. The Mother Crystal. I didn't know there was a thing called the Mother Crystal in fucking 14.
Oh, spoilers.
Is that?
Wait, surely you've already known.
Nah, Heidelin. Yeah. I can't even find the 16 wiki. Thanks. All right, brilliant. Doesn't even matter. Yeah, Drake's whatever the fuck. Drake's head is the one.
Drake's head, breath, fang, tail, spine, eye, horn.
So it is eye. Okay, I got it right. Yeah, so we go to Oriflamme via Northreach. Obviously, because you have to go through Northreach to get to Oriflamme. What happens in Northreach before arriving in Oriflamme?
There's a lot of little bits and bobs there. I
Dane?
mean, if we talk about them, we will be here all day.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember this game?
I skipped over it for time because I was like, "There's no way."
It's just not really worth talking about. I mean, yeah, fuck it.
It's cool. There's some cool stuff in Northreach. It's cool, but
I don't really remember it, to be honest. But I'll have to.
The next major event is when you get to the Mother Crystal. And you reach your way there, and they're like figuring out, like, how are we gonna take out the Mother Crystal? What do we do? and it's Sid then turns into Ramu, which is cool.
Yeah, that was
sends
a cool
big
moment.
lightning rod at it, and then it breaks. But then this is where things start to get fucky, which is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Which is where the fucking black portal opens and Typhon climbs through.
Yeah. What is Typhon?
Typhon is... I don't remember. I did know, because I remember reading the lore entry about it, but I've forgotten what Typhon is. Let me check. Final Fantasy 16 Typhon. Typhon is also a summon in the older games too.
I assumed as much. Yeah. Pretty creepy looking.
Quite epic. Yeah, he definitely is that.
Typhon. He looks fucking weird in the old games.
Yeah, he's pink. He's pink boy.
He's a big mad pink fucking
pink, and
animal.
he's got big teeth.
He does. Typhon, Final Fantasy 16.
But I believe he's just like a servant of Ultima, like some sort of. I believe like there's a theory or an idea that he is one of like the mother crystals were born of a sacrifice from Ultima's people, and Typhon was one of those. So when you destroy Drake's head, it like lets him out.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you have to fight him, sort of thing.
Why is there no other Ultima's friends in any of the other mother crystals? Okay, we won't question it. We won't question it because then it's just the plot hole.
Just don't worry about it. That might not be true. I might have made that up.
Is it not? But I thought that Typhon was Ultima, just posing as Typhon.
I mean, that's the thing, because we don't know really if Ultima is like just a guy, or whether Ultima is like whether all of his entire race is Ultima. Like
that's what I gathered towards the end,
which I think is what it is, right? Like all of them gave up their physical forms and became one.
Yeah.
So like Ultima is the embodiment of his entire race.
Yeah.
I think is the point. But regardless, Typhon comes out, everything's getting fucky, and
Very
that's
cool
when
boss fight with him.
Yeah, you jump in, you have the sick boss fight, which is very, very cool. But this is where everything then goes, balls to the wall fucking mad. Pretty much, because Sid's used up all of his power to send Typhon back through the portal and get rid of him. Yeah. And that's caused him, he's fucking on his last legs at this point.
Yeah.
On the ground. And I mean at this point I was like, because he'd done this like multiple times where like he's out of breath or whatever, and he's like fucking coughing up blood and shit, and I was like, okay, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I was like, Sid's fine, like he's a badass, there's no way that he's gonna die.
Yeah, like he'll be totally okay. But then that's when Ultima shows up for the first time behind Clive and goes to claim him as his vessel, and Sid uses the last of his strength to stab Ultima through the throat and stop him from claiming Clive, which is what ultimately does Sid in is giving his life to save Clive that one final time there.
Yeah.
Which is just, such a great moment, like having that his final words to Clive, talking about, before he met Clive, he could only think about, fighting so they could die on their own terms, but now he can see a new world where bearers can, live on their own terms.
Yeah. It's like he believes in Clive to carry on his legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Like he gives him that, like transferring his power of Ramu to Clive was like this sort of symbolism of like, I trust you to do what I did. Like, everything's, gonna be good in your hands sort of thing. Yeah. Which is just deeply meaningful.
Very beautiful moment, but also made me feel bad when I didn't use Ramu at all because it's shit.
Yeah, true. That's such a good point. I also did not use Ramu for a lot of the game.
Yeah, to be fair, Judgment Bolt is incredibly powerful. That's the ultimate.
It is
ability,
very good.
It's sort of a cop out to just use all of those all the time.
But
I sort of felt bad after that and going, I'm gonna go back to Garuda. Because I was like, I'm leaving Sid's power behind. I feel so bad, but it sucks. He has a shot lock though, which was cool.
He does have a shot lock like Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, I mean, just incredibly emotional. I was not expecting Sid to die.
No, neither was I. I thought he was going to be with us till the end.
It genuinely caught me so off guard. I was like, I don't believe this is happening. This is crazy.
Yeah, I was like, how many fucking more people can die?
Yeah, it was like, this is just just completely unexpected, but so impactful, and
but it
just
shapes
made
the
so
rest
much
of
sense.
the game, like that
Exactly.
that moment.
Yeah,
that's why there's a point of no return before it, because it's so pivotal in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think something quite meaningful about it is that Sid gives his life essentially to save Clive from Ultima.
Yeah.
So when Clive takes on the name of Sid and fights that fight to finally defeat Ultima and free the world, essentially.
Yeah.
It's so much more meaningful, because it's like
Sid made the right gamble.
Did that, yeah. Like, he gives his life to save Clive.
It's like he saw in Clive what no one else could see.
Yeah, exactly. And it just like not even what Clive could see in himself.
Yeah.
At that point, like, Clive was so unsure of himself, and he needed that push to believe in himself, to be like, I have to do this, not because I believe in myself, but because Sid did.
Yeah.
And that's what pushes him then on to take on the name of Sid, to lead the hideaway, and to do everything that happens for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But before the time skip, a moment that I thought was so fucking brilliant is after Sid dies, Joshua returns.
Oh yeah.
And confronts Ultima,
yeah.
which is just a fucking brilliant scene.
It's like the Phoenix comes back.
It's so good, and you've got this, Joshua is giving this heartfelt monologue to Ultima, and Ultima is just responding, just completely monotone.
Yeah.
Like, deadpan, doesn't care at all. And it's just this like battle of words between two complete opposites.
It was very cool.
Of like emotion, and I think it was just so fantastic. And I'm a sucker for this young defenseless kid that was so like weak comes back years later, and he's like fucking epic.
Yeah,
and he's got sick magic powers. And he's
really
casting these fucking,
and he knows more than everyone else. Like, because he knew about Ultima like long before anyone else did.
Yeah. And it was
just a very cool moment, like this battle of wits almost.
Yeah, and he's throwing these fireballs at him.
God, I loved it.
And it's so awesome. But the bit that really got me is when Clive wakes up and he like glances up and he can see Joshua.
Yeah.
But he can't like muster enough energy to like properly call out to him or anything.
Yeah.
That got me, man. I was like, oh my god, this is like, that's him realizing Joshua's alive.
Yeah.
Which comes at the most perfect moment too. Like, he's just lost Sid and he knows he has to take on, this weight of responsibility. But what spurs him on even further is realizing that Joshua's really alive.
Yeah.
And that he has got something to fight for. And that's it just comes at exactly the right time.
It does, it's perfect.
And it makes so much sense.
It is perfect. But I'm glad they didn't have an interaction at that moment, because it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
Like, if he would have sprung up and gone, Joshua, and like they started chatting, it's it's not the right time for that yet.
No. It made so much sense that that's what they did, and Joshua knew that he had to go off and do other things, that he had stuff that he had to pursue, and that Clive had to have that time to, figure himself out and, like, work his way into Sid's shoes.
Yeah. Isn't this also the moment where Joshua takes Ultima into his chest?
Yes. Yeah.
What is that?
That is...
Why does he do that?
Well, how it happens, I don't know how he does it, but he does it because it stops Ultima from having the power to take Clive as a vessel.
Okay.
Because he's, like, within him.
Yeah.
But Ultima obviously has his will in other places. Like, he's able to... Because there's, like, he's, like, this omnipresent being or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think Joshua doing that means that Ultima's not able to so easily just take Clive.
It's because he's not whole.
Probably, yeah.
That's what I saw it as. It's that, and it's almost confirmed by the ending bit where he absorbs all of the other versions of himself, whatever the fuck that is. It's almost like that Ultima that Joshua has in him. So long as Joshua has that inside of him, Ultima can't get to Clive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Yeah, that's why then at the very end when he releases that version, like, because Ultima gets stronger and stronger across the game. Joshua says like his will grows by the end, like to the point where he kills Joshua to bring the thing out, but obviously we're getting fucking ahead of ourselves.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But that is that whole sequence.
So that's the end of
and
that.
And that leads us into... Well, it leads us into the time skip.
Yeah.
Which was mental. Like, all of that stuff happens, and then you're into this, this next cutscene that just looks like, trailer for Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Yeah.
And then...
They're like walking through the fucking streets with their hoods up and shit, yeah.
It was great.
They're in Dalmekia at that point.
Yeah. And that's when it comes up then after that cutscene. That's what I loved about it. I love that it doesn't come up 5 years later and then play the cutscene.
Yeah.
It plays the cutscene, and then when they enter the house, then it just comes up in the corner 5 years later. And it's like, what?
It's like,
wait,
God,
what?
I was like, whoa. Clive's got like a beard and longer hair.
Yeah.
And his voice is slightly deeper. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it isn't actually. I don't even know.
And Jill looks identical.
Yeah, she
because
doesn't age.
Women don't age.
They don't age. Well, Clive's the only one that aged actually in the entire game.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, Joshua doesn't age either.
Wait. We missed out an incredibly important part.
Did we?
Titan's attack on the hideaway.
Oh, yes.
That's a huge part.
Titan attacks the hideaway.
The original hideaway. Sid's hideaway.
Yeah. Destroys it. They have to flee.
Gav
and that's
loses
when
his eye.
Gav loses an eye.
Yeah. Bunch of characters, like bunch of NPCs died. Not important characters per se, but like NPCs.
Characters that are like they're like named NPCs.
Yeah.
Because in side quests they come back around.
Martell with her apples in the farm. It's like one of the curiosities in Clive's room is those apples.
Yeah. It's very It's so there is that personal aspect to it. But that was also another shocking moment of like.
It was insane.
Oh, shit.
It's like we've lost everything. Like
it's the lowest point, and we come back around. We learn that Clive is being called Sid now. That he's taken on that mantle.
The moment where he steps out to face those guards, and he says that line that Sid says, sort of at the beginning, where he's like, "Oh, I forgot the line," but it's like he's joining the fight, and he's like, "Oh, do you mind if we add one more or something like that to the fight?" And that's like him referring to himself. It's
and that's when he
Sid
like
says before.
He like sparks up like the Ramu lightning on his like arm as well.
Yeah.
And it's also playing Sid's theme too.
Oh, Sid's theme is so good.
Which is really cool. Yeah. And then you fight those guys and you fight the curl and you move on and everything. There's some more good moments there, but again, like we'll literally be here all day if we talk about every little moment. But what I thought was great afterwards is arriving at the new hideaway, which is just great that it's like built into, like it makes so much sense that Sid's fucking hideaway is built into a fucking old fallen airship.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
So cool.
Makes a lot of sense.
And it's surrounded by water, so they know that ain't no one getting to them easily like they did last time. Yeah. Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, it's very cool, and the track that plays in the new hideaway. Our terms is really good.
I can't even fucking recreate it, but you know what I was going for there.
Yeah.
So
good. It's very, very good. That's a fantastic sequence, and just sort of like leads you into this new era of the game where
Mid shows up, obviously.
Everything changes, and we pick up the pieces and we move on.
Mm-hmm.
The next, there's a lot that happens here, but I don't know how much detail we want to go into.
I forget, to be honest.
Because the next arc is... I think the next arc it's Jill, isn't it? It's the Jill arc.
What is the Jill arc?
Where you go to the Iron Kingdom and you kill the Iron Kingdom guys and destroy that Mother Crystal.
Drake's, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, whatever it's called. That one.
Oh, fuck, I barely even remember that.
And you meet Byron.
Yeah, classic Byron.
Who's cool. I love Byron. He's very cool.
He is very cool.
He gives me very for anyone that knows Final Fantasy, like Galuf vibes, and sort of like maybe Teller, maybe Strago, like those sorts of characters. He reminds me of him, especially later on in the game. He does some like little funny bits.
He's a very jolly man, Byron.
Yeah, I like Byron a lot. I think he's cool.
And when he realizes that Clive isn't dead.
Yeah, that's a great moment. Yeah, where they embrace and like he cries and they just like that's a great scene.
Good moment.
Jill's arc though, I guess we'll start summarizing instead of going beat by beat. But Jill's arc in that that segment of the game where she goes to the Iron Kingdom and kills the guy and they destroy the Mother Crystal. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
I fucking barely remember it, to be honest. I really...
Well, that tells you how good it was.
Well, yeah, but I also don't remember a lot of this game because I played it violently stoned, so it's like...
Ah, right.
I remember the huge moments, and like I remember a lot of the later story, but like this point in the game, like I really don't remember an awful lot of it or how it sort of fits together. Like I thought the fucking scene with fucking Clive and Torgal at the bridge was before Benedicta, but it was afterwards.
No, it's after, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's when they're searching, when they're looking for Gav. Anyway, yeah. So, okay, fine. So the Jill sequence, I think... I mean, I've talked about this briefly before, but I think it's overall, like, it makes sense for her character. I don't think there's anything, like, wrong writing-wise. Like, I don't think it's, like, badly... Like, it makes sense. Everything makes sense. I just think I'm not hugely emotionally invested in it, mainly because it's just sort of... Like, I wish I could have played as her. And like I could have experienced it and like really felt for her, but it just kind of felt like a bit of an offshoot and a bit of like we'll do this and like it makes sense and now we can get back on track with the stuff that matters.
Well, the reason why I was into it is because I remember being into it at the time because I was like, well, Jill's been here for Clive. It's time for Clive to be there for Jill, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like egregiously like terrible or anything.
No,
it's
pretty forgettable. Like I've forgotten it. I don't even remember the dude that you kill. Who you even go there to kill?
It's the guy. It's the head of the Iron Kingdom, dude with like the turban.
Fuck is that?
He like does the prayer, and there's a bunch of guys like around him that are like doing the prayer too. And then Jill comes in and she's like, "You motherfucker,
bastard, you fucker, you."
Then she stabs him.
Kill you. I remember that scene. I just don't remember the guy like that well. Like I know she killed a dude.
Don't worry about it. He's not important.
Super, inconsequential.
I think a lot of that would be better if we just got to play as Jill. Like I just think that Jill should have been the one to do the boss fight there, not Clive. Like it all just feels too passive, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, that made sense, but I didn't feel much for it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to replay the game. Honestly, I need to do New Game Plus anyway. So. But yeah, fuck, I don't remember that very well at all. Great. Okay. So that's Drake's, whatever the fuck, in the boiling sea.
It's that one.
Off the coast of... Yeah, there you go.
The next bit was... Oh, it's where you go back to Rosaria. You go back to Rosalith Castle. To fight Kupka. You fight him in, like, the basement, not the basement.
Oh, but you don't finish him. That's where...
Yeah, he gets taken away by Harbord. You cut his hands off. I don't really have much to say about that, but to be honest...
It's fine. Again, I like the clash between Clive and Kupka. I think that's good.
Yeah, it's like... I get it, like the revenge story and stuff. Like, he destroyed the hideaway and killed a bunch of their guys. Like, you want to get revenge.
Like, it was satisfying to fight him.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I hate this guy.
It felt right.
Yeah, but you also understand why he's doing all the things he's doing, just because he was so enamored with Benedicta that it's just like that's all he cares about. Like,
and he thinks Sid is the one that did what he did, but he didn't.
No.
Like, it's just a big misunderstanding. Which again, like I feel like Clive maybe should have explained that to him.
Well, I guess because he was like, well, Sid did do it because I'm fucking Sid, so fuck you.
I guess. Oh, yeah, true. I guess it does transform the situation because it's like it doesn't matter now because he did kill all of those people. He did destroy the hideaway, and also it was me who killed Benedicta.
Wait, no. He does explain it to Kupka, doesn't he? Because I remember a moment where he goes, "For all these years, I thought it was Sid, but now to know that I can."
Fight the man that did it. But I do think like he should, because I feel like Clive should have said to him, "Look, Sid didn't send Benedicta's head in a box. That was somebody else."
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Like.
Okay.
You're mad for like find the person who chopped the head off and send it to you because that would.
But he's mad at the person that killed. I suppose he's also mad at the disrespect to her body. But he was initially mad at the person that killed her mainly. That's what I thought. He wasn't just mad at the person that cut her head off.
That's true, but it's whatever. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
That's a whole sequence. But I think the game starts to pick up again when you go after him, and you finally get your revenge with the Titan fight. I mean, we've talked about the Titan fight. Yeah. It's a fucking spectacle. It's fucking beautiful.
Just insane. Yeah, it's just fucking mental. Like the whole bit where you destroy Titan Lost, and then as you're falling through Titan Lost's corpse, you're fighting normal Titan.
Yeah,
again.
It's so good.
It's insane.
It's so good.
Just super spectacle. I loved it. The soundtrack was fucking brilliant. Which was also a reference to 14, right?
What?
The music.
Oh, I mean, it was very 14-esque. 17. Jesus Christ.
But it's like in the trial of Titan in 14. That's where the music plays, or similar music.
Oh, I didn't know that. If that's true.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm fucking reading shit again and getting it wrong. I don't know.
You spend all your time on Reddit getting false information.
I don't even know where I read this. I don't even
internet.
think it was fucking Reddit. I don't know where I read this.
Maybe you just made it up.
It was Twitter. It must have been Twitter.
Maybe it came to you in a dream.
as most great ideas do.
Yeah.
But yeah, great fight, great moments, super satisfying. You finally killed Kupka. He's a cunt. Nobody likes him. Take his power.
Destroy the Mother Crystal.
Yeah. The moment where... Is that where...
That's where Ultima shows up, right?
Or after Dhalmekia?
You destroy the crystal, and then it's like in a darkened, like it's like this big world of like just blackness, and Ultima confronts Clive.
Fuck, I don't even remember that either. Fucking hell.
I think that happens there, which is a really cool scene, and it's like very, very ominous and imposing, and like the music's great.
I've only just fucking finished it and I have to replay it again. I just don't remember it. Why don't I remember it?
It do be like that. Maybe because it's just shit. Maybe that's why. This game's bad, actually.
Maybe it's because it took me so long to play it that I just forgot the sort of first half of the game.
Maybe.
Because I reckon everything past this point, I remember now. We'll see. We'll fucking see. Jesus Christ.
Well, the next major moment is Bahamut. That's the next major moment.
Yeah. Go on then. I remember everything. Everything.
Which is, just a whole fantastic sequence. I mean, we talked about the spectacle of it earlier, the fact that, how it comes together and the fight and all that stuff, but just on a story level.
During that sort of arc, the Bahamut arc, I'm going to call it, you get to learn a lot more about Prince Dion as well, which is where he really starts becoming more of a fleshed out character. You get to see his relationship with his boyfriend, who's also, his captain of his dragoons. So it's like,
Terrence.
It's sort of... Yeah, I actually really like their scenes together, especially the one at the end where he's got to send him away, and it's sort of Dion. It's like that's the last time they see each other ever.
Yeah, it's very cool actually. Like, there's a lot of stuff between them. Like, there's the bit in the Bahamut arc where it's just before he ends up turning into Bahamut. Like, it's just before he goes to confront his father and Annabella. Yeah, where he's like speaking to Terrence, and he's like. Do you do you approve of what I'm doing? Right in what I'm about to do? Yeah, and Terrence is like, I'll follow you until the ends of the earth and everything. Oh God, it's like Terrence! It's so good. And also something that Jamie pointed out is that after everyone, after his father is dead, and after obviously, the kid, fucking Olivier, is that his name?
Yeah, fucking snot-nosed bitch
dies. Everyone starts calling Dion your Radiance. But Terrence still calls him my prince, which I think is just really nice.
Pretty wholesome,
it's just really sweet.
Yeah. It's like it's almost like a pet name for him.
Yeah, which I just think is just it's just really, really nice. I think they had a really nice relationship across the game, and I think it was just very nice for Dion to have a character like that.
And it was just cool to see a gay romance, that was actually done well.
Yeah,
like it was just cool to see because there's it's just not something you see often, so it was just nice.
Especially not in like Japanese like JRPGs, like that sort of thing. Like, they don't often do it.
Yeah, like for sure. It was just nice to see, and I'm sure there were plenty of people out there that probably resonated even stronger with, because
definitely.
It was nice. I liked it. It was very subtle, very understated, but powerful, I think. Yeah,
for sure. And I think his whole arc through that sequence is just done so well. Like, it's just getting it's just, there's so much that happens. Like, it's great. We could do a whole podcast just on that sequence alone. But it's like, you understand like what he wants, and he has this like very, very clear moral compass where his father clearly doesn't.
Yeah.
And he wants what's best for the Empire and for his people,
Mm-hmm.
and the only way he can do that is by confronting them head on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that scene
calling
in the
out
throne
Annabella
room is insane.
it's so good. It's just, you know, one of my favorite like tropes in things is where you've got a character like rebelling against like someone in power.
Yeah.
And the person in power is like, "Oh my god, guards, get him out of here!" And the guards just don't. And they're like, "No, because this guy's based."
Yeah.
I love that.
It
It happens there, and I think it's really good because
So
like they're all
good.
like, "No, Dion's spitting facts right now.
Yeah.
This is, you know."
Because obviously the Dragoons are loyal to him because he's the one that leads them, so they will only listen to him.
Yeah, and it's just a great moment, and yeah, his storyline throughout that is just very, very good. And I think as well, like, something really meaningful about this is, I mean, like, we're jumping around a bit here, but you've got like this is the moment, and it ties back into Dion, but this is the moment where Ifrit and Phoenix combine together to form, you know, what
the vessel
what becomes
fucking not the vessel, but
what Ultima calls it
later.
Logos.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool, because in Final Fantasy 1, the way that you level up your jobs for your party is by doing a quest for Bahamut, who takes your current job role and upgrades it to the next, like, to make it better. So you go from like a white mage to a white wizard,
it's nice
or
of Bahamut,
you know,
to do
a warrior
that.
to a knight. Yeah, he's pretty cool. He does it if you bring him a rat's tail. It's very cool. But what I liked about that is that in this moment, during, you know, the fight against Bahamut, like, what gives Clive and Joshua the ability to essentially like evolve and level up and go to the next stage is this battle and confrontation with the Bahamut.
Yeah, that is
which
cool.
is like very, you know, it's kind of like,
it's like a little
callback to Final Fantasy 1. And what's also really cool is the way that in this moment too, that moment when you've got Clive confronting Annabella, when Clive, like, she's spouting off a bunch of shit, like she's fucking losing it, and Clive, like, you know, retorts with, you know, you had a son right there, and like, you know, Joshua and all this stuff. When he does that, it starts playing the Overworld theme from Final Fantasy 1.
Oh,
which is really fucking cool. Which they always use. They only ever use it when referring to Prophecy or Joshua and Clive, which to me, I think makes a lot of sense because Final Fantasy 1 is based on Prophecy. But also, I think it kind of subconsciously, like, subtly is trying to, like, paint Joshua and Clive as, like, the warriors of light in a way.
Yeah.
Like, in this universe sort of thing. Like,
what is
the
that? What the
equivalent
protagonist
of
is called in 1 then?
Final Fantasy 1, is the warriors of light.
Oh, so that's where they got the idea of the warrior of light for 14 then, I suppose.
Yes, it's from Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is, it's like the prophesized coming of the 4 warriors of light that'll, like, save the land from darkness and stuff. Which I think is quite nice because there's a lot of prophecy built into Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, definitely.
The way that Joshua and Clive play into that, which I just think is, just really, really cool.
For sure,
I'm
yeah.
trying to think of
What happens
I'm trying
after?
to think of everything else in this sequence because there's so much shit that happens here. Like, you've obviously got, like, Joshua and Clive reuniting, like, properly for the first time after the giant spectacle fight and everything.
Hell, yeah, that's very true. And obviously, Joshua is, like, injured before the Bahamut fight, and Clive steps up and activates Ifrit, like, because obviously he's the first shield, and he's protecting him. I do like the whole, I mentioned it before, the whole confrontation between Clive and his mother, where he's sort of just, like, shouting at her and just going crazy. Because obviously he's feeling a lot of pain, because the woman that caused him pretty much all the pain that he felt in his early life was because of his mother rejecting him. So being able to unload all of that and just ask her why was just a very powerful moment. And obviously it was for selfish reasons. She wanted to fucking, preserve her fucking bloodline or some bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was good.
And I think with Annabella as well, something very cool is that she is an analog or, like, a parallel to Ultima. Like, in that she does exactly what he does. Like, she wants to preserve herself and like her people at the cost of everything else that she sees as inferior. And I think that's very much sort of like a parallel to Ultima's end goal.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think is quite cool. And
just all along, Clive was struggling with what Ultima's goal is anyway, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happens after that. So, post-Bahamut fight.
God, there is...
Dion's defeated.
Yeah, he goes off. He's with Medicine Girl.
I fucking love that scene.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
That's actually one of my favourite scenes in the entire game. It's when he's like stumbling through the remnants of the Crystalline Dominion. And he falls over, and then she picks him up, takes him back to her little cabin, and gives him the remedy for free. And it's like when he realizes there, like, despite everything that I've done, these people still believe in me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gives him that strength to, like,
you know,
to
I love the little potion seller
and
girl. She's in it for, like, she doesn't show up past that point, I don't think, but she does show up past that point, doesn't she? When people are leaving the Crystalline Dominion and trying to get to Canva. Is that it? Am I just remembering it wrong again?
I don't remember.
Or maybe I'm remembering it. She was in Oriflamme and then she went to the Crystalline Dominion. You meet her along the road at some point when she's heading to somewhere. Because I remember she's heading somewhere and you see her again at some point.
I think it's the scene with Joshua and his bloody Yote.
Yeah.
I think it's that scene where they're there. It's which is just after Titan, and she's just kind of I think you could just see her. She's just like wandering down the road.
Does she not approach him and go, "Oh, do you want this?" And they're like, "Nah."
Oh, maybe that she tries to sell a medicine.
Yeah, I remember her showing up at another point, but yeah, the scene with Dion and her is great. I really like it.
Yeah, it's a really nice scene. Fuck, what happens next? Where do we go from here? Oh, it's Odin's the next arc.
Fucking hell, yeah.
And a lot happens in that arc. A lot fucking happens.
It really does.
So much happens thinking about it. Holy shit.
You're going to have to remind me.
I think we're going to have to jump to the most major bits, because otherwise we are actually going to be here for like another 2 hours.
Okay.
Let me think. Right. What is there worth talking about? I mean...
Build the Mithril engine. That's sorted.
You have the whole bit in the Free Cities, and you have that whole thing, and Clive gets knocked out, and you go back and you do the shit for Mid, and then you get on the boat and you go back to look for Jill, and that's when you're going across the sea.
Hey, wait, how does Jill get captured again?
It's that bit. It's the bit she stays behind to fight off.
That's when Barnabas. Oh, dude, Barnabas's intro, like when he comes into like that court meeting in Canva, kills all those dudes, and then obviously that shit happens. Then he fights Clive, and like Clive losing that fight, like he tries so hard, and he just loses. Like Barnabas is just one step ahead of him at every turn. It's just like, we haven't seen Clive fail in so long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it
really builds up Barnabas as like this like.
Yeah, formidable character.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like it does build up that he can't deal with Barnabas the same way he dealt with the other icons.
Yeah.
Like this is something he has to find. Like he has to beat him through sheer will. Like, which is the exact thing that Ultima's fighting against.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he can't just brute force his way through it. He's got to, there's more to it than that, and I think that's really meaningful. You obviously, you go across the sea, you fight him again, you lose again. And that's when Jill and Clive find themselves on the coast of Ash. And it's the moment when Jill gives Clive Shiva. Which is a great scene.
Beautiful scene, because it's like...
So good.
You can tell Jill doesn't really... It's not something that she necessarily wants to do, but she knows she has to do it for Clive.
Yeah.
And like her trusting him with that is like just a very powerful moment. And then obviously they make love and whatnot, which is also a great scene. Loved it. Love watching them shag.
And I think it's it's just the whole scene is just like, music is great, it looks great, but the actors are giving such good performances in that scene. It's just well written too. There's like some great dialogue. Like, it's just a really meaningful scene between these two characters that just is a very poignant moment in the story.
Sort of realize how far they've come as well at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Since, you know, back in Rosario.
Yeah,
love that scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
And obviously Clive is feeling better. He's just got some pussy.
For the first time in his life.
It's like that scene from that movie where Adam Driver is like, I just had sex, now about to eat nachos. It's the greatest day of my life. That's what Clive is thinking.
Classic Clive. That's classic Clive, that is.
It just is.
That's what he's known for.
But yeah, so how do they get out of that? How do they? Does Mid?
Mid picks them up, in the ship, and they go back, and then they have to plan to go back to Ash, and
they're like, oh, where do we go? Where do we go? Oh, it's back to the same shore we did before, because that's probably the most obvious choice.
Yeah, and they go, and that's, you know, you do all that stuff. You go through, you meet the pregnant woman.
Oh yeah, Edda, is that her name?
Yeah, Edda. Yeah, something like that.
So she's the only surviving person from her village that got massacred by the Akashic.
I will say, I really like Ash, and I think it's very Dark Soulsy.
It is.
In the, you're like trudging through this like fallen kingdom that used to be something where some place where people lived, but it's not anymore.
Like, it had already long since fell by the time you get there.
Yeah.
So it was very Dark Soulsy, especially when you get to, what's the name of? Fuck, why do I fucking start sentences? I don't know the name of shit. Vida Grace, whatever the hell it's called.
Sure.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know. Does it matter?
Yeah. Vida Grace. It's like the most northern point that you can go to in Waloed, like near the big palace, would you call it, or the castle thing. That sort of area was very Dark Soulsy, where you're like on the battlements and stuff, and there's like all destroyed. It's like you're in a destroyed sort of like fortress. I liked Waloed. It was cool.
Yeah, I think that was really, really good. But yeah, I'm trying to think. What happens next? Oh yeah, fighting Barnabas is obviously what comes up next, which is getting to the top of the tower, confronting him, and, you know, having that battle, which we already talked about.
Fucking hell, it was
great
so
fight.
fucking good. Like, it just kept going. There was just another phase and another phase, and I like how throughout the course of the fight, like, Barnabas starts off and he's very deadpan and very sort of just very monotone, and as the fight goes on, he just goes insane.
Yeah.
Like at the end when he's like, oh, for so long I've, forgone indulging in stuff, and it's like finally I can indulge in this fight, and it's just like he's going mental, and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude?
Yeah.
Like, he's fucking insane.
I think that's really, it's really cool, and it sort of does mirror Ultima as well, like how Ultima's trying to be this like, oh my god, I don't have like a will, I don't really care about anything, and then, you know, right at the very end, he's like fucking shouting at Clive because he's fucking mad that he's gonna lose, and it's like, you know,
it's classic Final Fantasy boss where he goes, what is this? And then Clive's like, the power of friendship.
Yeah. Which is pretty much what he says too.
Yeah, but I love it. Like, I love that shit.
It's like, instead of just saying like my friends and my power, he's like, it's my strength comes from all the people I've met.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah.
But it's so Clive though, because he's been like that through the whole game. Yeah, you know, so it's you know.
He's very in touch with his emotions, which is like, you know, where he finds his strength.
Exactly,
is in being, you know, is in his friendships.
He'd get along with Sora very well, I think.
He would. He definitely would. They should put him in. He literally could meet him.
Oh,
they can do that.
I would love that so fucking much.
That would be sick.
Clive needs to be in Kingdom Hearts 4.
That'd be sick. They've not used new Final Fantasy characters since 10. 10 was the last 1,
Yeah.
where they added new characters.
And fuck everything since 10. Just give me Clive.
Yeah.
Noctis is already
Clive.
essentially in it.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be sick.
That'd be
Introduce Clive as a Final Fantasy character in Kingdom Hearts. Come on.
Ooh.
That'd be awesome.
I actually love that. I actually love that so much.
That'd be very cool.
But I just want to play as
I think
Clive.
that'd
Nah, what am I saying? I love Sora. Sora's my favourite Square Enix boy. Sorry, anyway, yeah. Barnabas fight. Really fucking
you beat
strong.
Barnabas.
Yeah,
you do all those bits and bobs. And the next major bit. So you go through a lot of stuff. You do a lot of other things. But the next major bit is going with Joshua to confront Ultima.
So
in the castle.
the next sort of main quest after that is back to their origin.
No. Before that, when you go to the castle,
Which castle?
the castle in Waloed, and you go into you go into the interdimensional rift.
What?
How do you not remember
I don't
this?
know.
It's where Ultima tells you his whole plan.
And he goes, "I'm Ultima, and
He
you're
probably
a fuck,
does say that.
and your will." Nah. Nah, I love Ultima. Yeah, I don't.
Do you not remember
You
it?
go into an interdimensional rift. Is that
That's
just a
what it's
cutscene?
called, yeah. No, you walk through it. It's like it's where it just looks like a castle that's been like all blown up, but it's halfway through blowing up. So like it's just bricks everywhere, like floating.
Why the fuck do I not remember this?
That's crazy.
I
At the
played
end,
this like a
you
week
see
ago.
like
Why do I not?
it's like you see like Ifrit hanging, and he's like dead. It's like a dead Ifrit.
Yeah.
And then Ultima comes down, and he's like, "This is
the vessel."
true. Yeah, this is the vessel.
And he was just lying because it's not.
This is what you will become for us, or whatever." And then you fight him. And you've got the bit where then Clive is pretty much about to get taken over by Ultima, but Joshua like snaps him out of it.
Yes. No, I do remember all of this now. Yeah, okay.
And it's very cool as well. I like the way they use Joshua's the phoenix feather
yes, that
as like a
yes.
symbol that Joshua's there.
It's like multiple times in the game that
yeah,
the feather shows up, just to Joshua's
yeah.
presence is there. Yeah, I like that too.
yeah, and it happens there. And
Oh yeah, like he
that's when
forgets who he
Joshua-
is. Like he's like he doesn't know.
Yeah,
He's like, Clive, who's that?
yeah, he's about to get wiped and taken over by Ultima.
Yeah.
But then Joshua saves him, and then they combine, and that's when Ultima's like, "Wait, is this fucking Logos?
Yeah.
Is that what's going on here?" Which is basically an opposite to Ultima. Like it's like I'm pretty sure it's like it's a Greek term, but I'm pretty sure it's used in the Bible. It means like divine reason, which is like pretty cool because it's like yeah, it's like this opposite to Ultima in like a the opposite of a god.
It's like the antithesis
And I think that's really
of what Ultima
cool.
thinks he is.
Yeah, exactly. And everything then comes to a head in the final quest.
Back to their origin.
Ultima is a great antagonist.
I think he is
he's
too.
Fucking incredible.
He was really
like,
compelling and actually scary as well.
Yeah, genuinely scary, has great music, and also like the themes. I just love the themes, like the hypocrisy of Ultima,
Yeah.
like the way he sees himself as a god and
Yeah.
wants to wipe out humanity for just having a will.
Yeah.
But he created them in the first place, and the reason the reason their will is so strong is because of his negligence.
He abandoned
because
them.
he could have been a god. Like he could have actually been a god and been revered and loved and cared for, and like it could have been this relationship that goes both ways. Like he cares for his people worship him.
Yeah.
But he didn't want that. He ignored them and wanted to ignore them because they reminded him of himself.
Yeah.
Like the ignorance and the arrogance that led to the blight consuming his home and making him flee. He's reminded by that every time he sees humanity, which he created.
Yeah.
And he wants to wipe them out because he'd rather ignore it and pretend like he's not like them.
Yeah.
And Clive reminds him that he is.
Yeah.
And he hates that. And like that's why you slowly see Clive break him down by the end of the game, to the point where you can see the true Ultima. Like it's not this monotone, like godlike being. It's this very, very like human character.
Yeah.
That's, very similar to us, but in all of the negative ways.
Yeah. Just incredibly arrogant and uncaring. Yeah.
And I think
Ultima was
that's-
really compelling.
Yeah.
So I like how throughout the game as well, like every time he meets Clive, he seems like more irritated by him. Like at first he just treats him as if he's almost like a nuisance, and then he's like every time you meet him after that, he's constantly talking about Will and like just obsessing over it, and you know, up until that final sort of confrontation where Clive finally gets through to him and he realizes his mistake. It's just he is such a great villain. I just think he's just so well put together, and the way that he plays into the central themes of this game and the ideas they're trying to explore with Clive, like by the end it just makes, you know, so much sense. And I think it's also very cool, the Ultima, like I don't know, is it Latin or is it Greek? I don't remember, but Ultima and Mythos, like Ultima translates to final, and Mythos translates to fantasy, which is pretty cool. That is great.
It's like a battle of, like, you know, between Final Fantasy, which is pretty good.
That is great, yeah.
Which I think is quite nice. But before we do get to Origin, we obviously have the final moments with all of our main characters. You know, Clive stands with them and, like, you know, says what they're gonna do, and they have their final
before
reflection.
Going on that quest, I made sure to talk to every NPC and have their optional dialogue.
Yeah, that's nice.
Even like just the random NPCs that Clive doesn't talk back to, I had a last conversation with, like that woman that's on that bridge talking about, or like when it's the hopeless romantic, where throughout the game she's talking about like, oh, this character or that character. At the end, she's like, it was you all along. It was great.
Yeah,
I like
it's stuff like that that's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that final scene where everyone's gathered around, and you know, Dion, Joshua, and Clive are about to go to Origin. We didn't even talk about Primogenesis, really, like where that happens, and you know, ultimately fucks up the sky and everything, and how that affects the world. And then when you go to any settlement after that, all of the NPCs are like, what the fuck's up with the sky? And people like get sick of it. They're like, are we ever going to see the sun again? That was cool. Yeah. Mid hugs Clive. She's, you know, wishing him to be safe and that, and it's
Clive and Gav hug as well, and Gav cries. Yeah. That's a great little moment.
That's a good moment, and the most powerful moment I think in that cutscene is between Clive and Jill. Fuck me, that was. It's
so good.
Rough.
It's also, again, where they kick in the Final Fantasy theme, and it gets me every time. That fucking piece of music, every single time. You can play it completely out of context, and you'll get at least one tear out of me, I reckon, at this point.
And
it's just great.
Clive and Jill finally tell each other they love each other.
Yeah.
And Clive says to her, I promise I'll come back.
Oh. I know.
It's just so fucking sad.
And they jump off the edge, and, you know,
Bahamut is back.
Leave off on Bahamut.
What I don't understand, okay, why the fuck is Dion the only icon that can still summon his icon after Clive takes it away?
He's not. Benedicta did it.
But she's not controlling it.
And so did
Kupka did as well.
Kupka, yeah.
But Benedicta was separated from Garuda.
I think it's like you take a part of it and it takes him a second to like reconnect, I guess.
But why was she crying about it then?
Because she couldn't feel Garuda there anymore. Like, it was gone. But then she was able to tap back into it somehow.
Okay. I was for my entire time playing the game, I was just under the impression that once Clive, because Jill she can't turn back into Shiva again. Maybe she doesn't want to, but she doesn't ever do that again.
Yeah, look, probably just because plot.
And don't you only take Titan after you defeat Titan Lost anyway?
No, you take Titan before that.
When you cut his hands off.
When you cut his hands off, yeah.
Okay. So I was just for some reason under the impression that Benedicta.
You were under the influence.
I was for sure playing the entire game. I don't think I played any of it sober, but yeah, I must have just been I got it wrong then. Okay, I just thought Dion is so sick that he's allowed to turn into Bahamut.
I mean, he's the only one that's got like full control over it, I think.
It seems like it, yeah, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Dion is, you know, this epic badass.
Yeah,
he's like the Riku of Final Fantasy 16.
He is very much a Riku. Plus, he's gay, just like Riku.
Exactly, just like Riku wants to kiss Sora on his mouth.
Exactly. Which, talking of, everyone should watch this fucking video about Riku being gay. It's really good, and I am convinced he's gay. It's I think it's an essay, but it's also like a bit more relaxed than an essay. But it's like 6 hours and goes through all the Kingdom Hearts. And it's 6
hours explaining.
It's good.
Well, I mean, I can't even speak. I made a fucking 11-hour video. I can't chat any shit.
It's genuinely so good, and it adds so much depth to Riku. I'm like, there's no way this isn't intentional. Like, Nomura, yeah, Tetsuya Nomura, did this on purpose. I'm like, he wrote Riku to be gay, definitely.
Yeah.
There's no way he didn't.
Jamie was right all along. Okay.
It's genuinely so fucking good. It's so good. It made me like really like think about Riku in a totally different light. It was sick. I've
always been able to see both. Like, just if he was, straight, I can see that. But yeah, maybe I'll watch this video.
Nah, I can't at all. I can't imagine being straight. Like, that's the thing, right? One of the big things about it is, Nomura has always been up for people making their own interpretations about characters. Like, he likes that. That's like the whole premise of Kingdom Hearts. He's like, there's an interview where he said, like, I wanted something where people could figure it out themselves and decide what this thing means. And the only time he's ever come out and clarified something where people have been interpreting it is when people interpreted the ending of KH3 as Riku and Namine being together. He came out and said, no, that's not true. That's not the case. And then he made in Remind, he made them change the cutscene so that Riku doesn't smile at her anymore. Because he was like, no, I don't like that people think that.
I mean,
because
be fair,
Riku's
Riku
gay.
and
That's
doesn't
why.
really work anyway, so I'm fine with that. Like, it just
it's only
never
Riku
made
and
any
Sora.
fucking sense. Why would Riku want to fuck Kairi's nobody? It doesn't make any sense.
Literally, the combined Keyblade, where they have like the two Keyblades that join together, the keychains are fucking Palpu fruit. Like, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Anyway, we're not talking about Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It's just so good. Don't worry, we'll do a KH4 spoiler cast when it comes out.
Yes, that'll be great.
That'll be fucking sick. I miss Kingdom Hearts so fucking much.
Yeah, that's gonna be good shit.
Yeah, sorry. Let's continue.
But
back to their origin.
Yes, so you go to Origin, the big crystal in the sky. You head in. You've got the fucking confrontation between. I
mean, even just
Ifrit,
before
Phoenix,
that,
Bahamut, and Ultima.
The scene where Bahamut is flying towards the crystal and all those Akashic fly out, and he shoots out his like flares, and it just goes crazy. And there's just so much shit happening. Cool. Shoots that fucking huge hole in the side of the crystal. You go inside, and then it's the city, right? The city of Origin.
Yeah, well, it's what was previously Twinside, right?
What's Twinside? What, the Crystalline Dominion? That's the name of the city. The Crystalline Dominion's the region. Yeah.
Yeah, Twinside's a city. Yeah, because he raised that into the sky, right?
Yeah, and fucking in an instant, everyone in Twinside is just dead, killed.
Yeah.
Like a huge part of the population of the Empire of Sunbreak is just instantly killed.
Yeah.
And they were already reeling from what fucking Dion did.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
fucked. Yeah, they're having a tough time of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
the confrontation
from that confrontation is so sick.
It is just
like incredible. Just the spectacle was fantastic. Like, just seeing them all work together and team up, and when they do the Trinity
that was
thing,
insane.
That was so cool.
I was like, what
so
is happening?
Cool.
Like, what's it? Fucking Ifrit does, what's it called? What's his ability called?
Hellfire.
Fucking Phoenix does Flames of Rebirth, whatever the fuck it's called. And then Bahamut does whatever his thing is.
Yeah, Mega Flare.
Yeah, Mega Flare. And then the Trinity happens.
Yeah.
And it's just like this huge, like, ball of ether, basically. Just drop it on Ultima. And it doesn't do shit to him.
Yeah.
And then you've got... not even phased by it.
Yeah. It's just such a great sequence.
It felt like a Thanos moment. Like, they're all using their fucking strongest abilities. They're putting everything they can into it, and they're just making a scratch on him.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got from that just great fucking moment where Clive is like injured. You know, Ultima's gonna do some bloody big attack.
Yeah.
And Joshua's like ready to like, you know, stop it, and that's when Dion comes in and he's like, no, go after your brother.
God, it's...
And he has that moment where he says, what does he say? He's like, I'm not asking for acceptance, I'm just asking for forgiveness.
Yeah, and then he unleashes his huge laser, and it's like that cool sort of anime thing where it's like two lasers fighting against one another. And it's like for a second you think, oh, Dion's gonna bang it. Yeah. And then Ultima shoots his own laser into the big ball that just spurs it on, and he just can't hold on any longer. But he does save him some time, because just before he dies, he shoots off those flares that catches Ultima off guard. Yeah. And that gives Joshua and Clive enough time to sort of...
to get away and to recuperate. And like that's, like, you know, when he's falling down and Dion, obviously that's when he dies.
He's like, father.
He's like, he's like, I did it, you know, it's over or whatever. And like that is, you know, in a way, you know, if it weren't for Dion, you know, Clive wouldn't have been able to defeat Ultima in that moment.
None of it would have gone the way that it ended up going if it wasn't for Dion's sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I love his character so much.
Yeah, it's just such a great arc. It's so meaningful, and it's just, it's just really,
it's like
really
he gives
nice.
his life for the realm.
Yeah, and that's,
it's just so beautiful.
Really, really, really good. And from that we reach what is essentially the final confrontation.
Yeah,
Joshua and Clive limping into the main crystal room.
I like the line where Joshua starts coughing and Clive is like, should we stop? And Joshua goes, I think we're a little bit past that now. That moment walking up to the basically the crystal of origin is just, I didn't know what I was expecting, but I was like, shit's gonna go down. It
was just that moment where, you know, they walk in, they confront Ultima, and then Ultima, you know, reclaims the part of himself that Joshua had sealed away.
Yeah.
In the process, you know, effectively, you know, at that moment, killing Joshua.
Yeah. Which was just super surprised.
I was like, what is, like... I was like, I just didn't expect that to happen.
No. I expected him to take it back out of his chest, but I didn't... For some reason, I didn't expect that to, like, rupture Joshua's chest and leave a hole there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why I wasn't expecting that, but it really took me off guard. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And you've got then, you know, Clive then holding Joshua in his arms
that fucking
as he's dying, and it just, oh man, I was sobbing.
That
like,
broke me.
I can't wait to upload my reaction to that, because it was like, I don't think I've ever done that, like that sort of a cry on camera before.
Yeah.
Like, it was like I had to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, I'm crying too much. Yeah. That's crazy that the game has made me cry like that.
It was insane. Just
genuinely heartbreaking.
The pain in Clive's voice as he calls out in disbelief. He's just like, he's just like, wake up, damn you. He's got to
lose him again.
Yeah, that was what it was. It was like, it's almost like earlier in the game when he saw that Joshua was alive, his worst nightmare was relinquished. And then he has to just live it again.
Yeah.
Imagine having it taken away from you a second time. Oh, it's insane. But okay, what is the shit about Joshua? So Ifrit Risen is actually not the vessel that Ultima wanted.
Well, it is. It's what he wanted.
Okay.
He expected that he would take control of it, but when he sees them do it together, like without any of his influence, they're like, oh, like it's become independent of his like plan for it.
Yeah. And then he's just got an extra one sitting there. The blue Ifrit. What is that?
That's just him. Isn't it, right? Like, Ifrit is, like, his people's, like...
That's what form they were going to take in the New World. They were all going to be Ifrit.
I don't know. I don't know.
Imagine like they're all sitting around a table, just like chilling. They're all Ifrit.
They're all Ifrit, just sipping on some tea or something.
Yeah, I guess that's what I got from it, is that in the new world, Ifrit was just like, I don't understand though, because if all of his people were now in Ultima, were they all just going to be Ifrit, and there's just one thing living in Valisthea, and it's just Ifrit on his own?
I think they were gonna I assumed they were gonna split up again.
Okay, that makes the most sense. That does make the most sense. That's why there was a bunch of other Ifrits there as well.
Yeah,
like lining the walls.
Yeah, I think it's that Ifrit is Ultima's form.
Yeah, like it's not Ifrit in Final Fantasy XVI's universe. Like it's not the Ifrit that we know from the other games. It's in their universe that is Ultima's form, and that's why.
And I think
the second Dominant Fire looks like that is because
it's taking on the form of Ultima. He, so that he can eventually use him as a vessel to use the magic of rays to fuck everything up.
What's that? Rays?
That's the magic.
The ultimate
use,
spell,
right?
like the one that he was
collecting the spell he wanted to use, right?
Yeah. That's what the Mother Crystals were for, to collect all the ether so he could use that spell to create a new world.
Yeah, and he needed a body that was strong enough to withstand it. Which is what we end up getting. Mm-hmm. But I like that, after Joshua dies, that's when you get the moment where Clive sees the feather again.
Yeah,
which is what gives him the strength to win.
Oh god, I love the moment where Joshua gives him the full power of the Phoenix as well.
Oh
and
yeah,
the wings
and he's
spread.
Don't do it. And
there's that beautiful shot of Clive holding Joshua and the Phoenix wings spread wide with Ultima in the background. It's and it was that was all along. He was shunned by his family for not being the Phoenix, and now he is.
Yeah,
it was. Oh god,
it's a great moment, and with like I said, with Joshua dead, we then have he sees the feather.
Yeah.
And that's when he holds it tight and
he's you're still here,
and has the power to then take on Ultima is just
Sorry,
an incredible sequence.
What's the line that Joshua says to Clive if he's dying? He's like, "You've always been my shield." Is it along the lines of "You've always been my shield, now let me be yours" or something like that, or is it?
That does ring a bell. Let me double check. I've got my footage.
Something like that. But he also, as he's dying, he's like, "Thank you for being my brother," and it's just oh wait, that's after the fight, right? That he says that. No, after the fight.
After the fight, he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah. Yeah, as he's giving him the final power of the Phoenix, he's
not even a god might stop us.
Yeah.
He's no, Joshua. He says, "Enough, Clive. My body is too far gone." And then he says, "Fuck. I can't find it. I have always been proud to call you my shield." Yeah.
Yeah. I think that line I was talking about earlier, he says at a different point in the game. I think it's when he's mad at Clive for trying to take everything on his own. And he's "You've always been my shield, now let me be yours." But that's before he dies. That happens way before that. But that
he says, "Now the world needs you. Thank you for being my brother."
Yeah, because it's originally his job was to protect just the Phoenix, but now it's the entire world.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for being my brother.
Yeah, and that's when he grabs. So they end up in this other little realm, and then he grabs the feather. Room. Yeah, and then he does the Rosaria, the shield starts with the sword, and he says the speech.
Oh, read the speech.
Which is fucking awesome. I have it, kind of. I have it on this my sword I swear, to shield the Firebird's flame forevermore. I think that's it.
You gotta love it. And then his sword sort of goes all flamey.
Yeah, like ignites.
And then he like swishes
and he
it.
flips it round. Yeah. It's fucking awesome. And that's when
you just like, Clive's about to pop off.
Yeah. And that's when he does the epic fight, and they do it's a great fight too, because you've got Ultima using he's using fucking Holy and shit.
Yeah. He uses Ultima as well, doesn't he?
He does use Ultima, yeah. Which is fucking awesome.
Like Meteor and like all these crazy, just the most powerful spells you can think of.
All of the most powerful Final Fantasy spells, and then he's using fucking Smite.
He's using the icon abilities.
Yeah, and then in the next, because you've got a phase where he uses the first three. He's using Garuda, fucking Titan and Ramu. I think. And then he's got his last phase where he's using Shiva, Odin, and Bahamut or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's fucking awesome because he's just using all those powers, and then Clive is
countering them. Yeah, and I love when he's using Ramu, and Clive throws the spear back at Ultima's spear, and it breaks through Ultima's spear and hits him, and you hear Sid go, "Go on, lad." It's such a fucking good moment. Obviously, when
it's so good.
When you use the other icon abilities, there's also another character that will say their line, but that one stuck out for me because it was you haven't heard Sid's voice in so long. And it's that's what he'd be saying, man. He'd be cheering you on,
It's so good. Having all those characters, speaking to Clive and giving him that, it again is that my friends are my power.
But that
moment.
shit works on me so fucking well.
It's so good. It's my favorite stuff. It's just so good. That's why JRPGs at the end of the day are always good, because it is just it's on this scale of you've become a god yourself and you're fighting a god.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
the
most important part literally are the friends we made along the way.
Literally,
that's that is the most important part.
But that's why
Clive
beats Ultima, because he's human.
Exactly.
He's unapologetically human. I love stories like that where the indomitable human will always overcomes any adversity.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the moment where
spirit,
turns into
not will.
Yeah, the moment where he turns into Ifrit Risen and you fight Ultima Risen
in some mental cosmic space.
Yeah, in this fucking cosmic realm. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and
that's not even the last phase.
No, but to me that moment and the last phase as well. There's this feel to me that, and I think it's really meaningful because of the whole idea that Ultima wants to be a god, but Clive basically becomes what Ultima wanted to be.
Yeah.
That in this final fight, to me, it feels like you in every other fight or final boss, it's usually you're trying to beat them, whereas in this fight it feels like Ultima's trying to beat you.
Yeah,
you're the boss,
pulling out all of his abilities to desperately try and beat Clive, and he just keeps failing.
Yeah, and he just can't do it.
Gets slowly more agitated as the boss goes on, and just ends
he just gets more and more and more
screaming
mad.
And just it's so good.
Yeah.
It's
good. Absolutely fantastic, and there's a ton of phases. It's just fantastic.
There's 4 phases or something like that. It's just so good.
Yeah,
it's such a spectacle to play.
And you've got this, the final confrontation where, he's Ultima's Ultimalius at this point.
Yeah.
And he says, he's I don't need you, I don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
And Clive says, this is the quote. He says, "And that is where we are different. I could not have made it here on my own."
Yes, that line.
I carry with me the hopes and dreams of my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Is that the end of the quote? Shit. It might be. I'm just watching it in real time.
Oh, I see.
And it is they who give me the strength to end your reign.
Yes.
That's what he says. That's fucking sick. And then that's what starts the final phase of the fight.
Yeah, where shit goes crazy.
Yeah. And we have one of the coolest fucking lines in the game, which a lot of people have ragged on for saying it's a bit fucking corny, but I think it's fucking great, is when Ultima says the world you seek is but a fantasy, and then Clive responds, "The only fantasy here is yours, and we shall be its final witness."
Hey, see, I didn't
which is fucking cool.
To be honest, I didn't even notice that when I was playing it. I was just that's a cool line. I did not notice the Final Fantasy. Yeah, that's really cool. No, I don't mind that.
Yeah,
What are you getting mad at that for? It's a
I think it's good. I think it's
JRPG.
like, if the whole game was like jerking itself off for its entire runtime,
Yeah.
I'd get it. But I think the game is so earnest and genuine. I think it earns that little like
Yeah.
pat on the back at the end.
It does.
Where it's like, it's
like he said the
why
Final
not?
Fantasy. He said it.
Yeah, Clive says Final Fantasy, which I think is
That was
great.
really amazing.
It's just a fantastic sequence of events. But what I think is probably the best part of it is what comes after, which is the final confrontation with Ultima,
After
which is
you
where Ultima,
punched
you know,
him. Because you have that
ebbing
cool
away.
scene where, just before this, where Clive charges up his sword and throws it at Ultima, and it goes
Yeah.
through his chest. And then he runs up to him and punches him, which is just so satisfying. And then, that's when they're in, like, the sky has gone, like, sort of bright again.
and you've got Ultima dead on the ground,
Sort of, fading
or
away.
dying.
Yeah.
And Clive comes over, and they have this final confrontation
Such a
of
good
like
scene.
Ultima like not being able to fathom what it is that Clive fought so hard for.
Yeah.
And I just think it just is so meaningful because it's this just deep misunderstanding of his own creation.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't understand.
He's like-
but at the same time, it's literally what he's been fighting for the whole time too.
Yeah. It's like they couldn't be more similar in what they want. It's just they were against each other.
Yeah. And it's
he's
just,
like, what does he say?
yeah.
He's like, something about like, what do you reckon that will happen to this world? And he's like, probably a lot
Yeah.
of suffering.
Yeah, a tale of sin and suffering,
Yeah.
hardship and pain.
And he's like,
Yeah.
this is what you fought so hard for.
Yeah.
And he's like, but that's our way. We fight
Yeah.
and we quarrel, but we always
Yeah.
come
It's
back.
who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. We fight, we survive, we endure, we don't need a reason.
Because ultimately, it's better to have a world with war and suffering than it is to have a world of mindless thralls.
Yeah. There's some great quotes here. We see the horizon ever out of reach and still we march on.
Yeah,
What
that's
a great
good
fucking quote.
line. Yeah. Oh, I also like the when during the boss fight when Ultima says like something like "you icons will know true suffering," and Clive is like, "all we've known is suffering," or something along the lines of that.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
really good. Like I just like love shit like that. Good line.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that final scene with both of them, it was just like the calm after the storm almost. It's like Ultima's defeated. Now what happens?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that Ultima's final line, though, is that he stays true to what he believed, which is that he says, relish this victory, knowing that you have but delayed the inevitable.
Yeah.
Enjoy an eternity on the world's blackened husk, or something like that.
He doesn't just go, "Oh, you were right, I was wrong because I'm sad and
Yeah.
troubled." He was like, "Nah, I'm salty about this defeat, but you can have it anyway."
Yeah. And... yeah, and that's it. Ultima's defeated.
Yep.
The battle's won. And that's when we eject back out to...
The Heart of Origin.
to back with Joshua. And you get this, this very quiet moment where Clive hugs Joshua.
Yeah.
And we get this series of flashbacks
Of them when they were children.
Yeah, them together when they were children and when Joshua was first born.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when Joshua gave him the gift of the Phoenix and stuff.
Oh, that was such a good scene.
Yeah.
I loved that so much.
It was so good. It was so good. It was just so nice. Like, it just shows what they both mean to each other.
Yeah.
And it made so much sense, like, for just what happens next, which is that, like, he realizes that, like, in defeating Ultima and absorbing his power, he realizes as well Ultima was wrong, that his body is not powerful enough to like, cast the spell and survive.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Like, it will kill him. But he does it anyway. And casts rays to bring Joshua back.
Yeah.
And to
Wait, he brings Joshua back?
Yeah.
I thought he just healed his body so it wasn't all fucked up.
No, the book at the end is written... Wait, did you watch the post-credit scene?
Yeah, I did.
The book on the end, it says Final Fantasy by Joshua Rosfield.
Oh my fucking god.
Did you not know that?
No, they could have had him, like, cough or something, or at least, like, stir. He looked fucking dead still.
No, but this is the thing, right? It's up for interpretation. we don't actually know what happened. Because, right, so after this scene, so he casts, so we can assume that he uses the spell, which was Raise, which is what he was supposed to use.
Yeah.
Which was what Ultima wanted to use in the first place, but Clive uses it in a different context.
Yeah.
And so the way that I interpret it is that he uses the spell and dies doing it because his body's not powerful enough. It brings Joshua back to life, and Joshua spends the rest of his life chronicling the events of this game and writes it into a book called Final Fantasy, which is then what people believe it's a fantasy, like that it was never real. And they bring peace to the world, etc. But there are other readings of this ending that actually he didn't bring Joshua back, but he also didn't die, and that he wrote the book under the name Joshua, similarly to how he took on the name Sid.
But we see him get afflicted with the curse.
Yeah, but all you see is it hit his left hand, right? And there's the theory goes that, like, in the quest for the Dion one that's with, and also like the Dion Tomes side quest, he says like he gives him like a quill or whatever. Like if you go read the letter you get from him, Tomes said he gave him a quill and he's like, you can use it to write one day. Yeah. And Clive is right-handed, so if the curse only affected his left hand, maybe he still had use of his right arm and was able to use that to write the book under the name Joshua. As like an ode to his brother. And there's also the idea that because Jill says in her quest, she's like, oh, I always know that the sun will rise, I always know that you'll come for me. And the final scene we see before the credits roll is Jill's crying with Torgal, and she looks up and the sun rises, and then she there's a more hopeful look, and that's when the credits roll. And so is it like it's very much left up for interpretation. Like, I don't think they will tell us, and I don't want them to either. No. Because I like not knowing. Like, it could be that Joshua survived and wrote and Clive died, or it could be that maybe both of them ended up surviving, or maybe just Clive survived. Like, we don't actually know.
But surely after using Raise, Joshua is lying there on the ground, fully unconscious, and he blows up the entire thing. How does Joshua survive that?
I mean, he did it once.
Well, yeah, he fucking did.
So I don't know.
I think Clive died.
I think Clive died too.
Because that was my interpretation of. I mean, I didn't even I thought Joshua died as well, to be honest. So I don't fucking know.
But no, I thought, and I think it makes more sense. Like, I think you can have an argue for either way thematically, but I like that Joshua is Clive gives his life in the end to save his brother.
It's like his final act as the shield of Rosaria.
Yeah. But then people also argue that there's the idea that, like, Sid was always speaking to the idea that Clive needs to save himself, and for him to die in the end kind of negates that idea. But I don't know if that's what Sid was talking about, because Clive does save himself. He does.
He becomes a normal functioning man again, and I assume that's what he was talking about. Save yourself. Don't kill yourself now. Save yourself so that you can, serve the world later.
You can do what you need to do. Like, I don't know. To me, it makes sense that he brings Joshua back and he dies for doing it.
That makes more sense to me.
And then also, in doing that too, he wipes out magic.
God, he could have done with the Phoenix down, couldn't he? That would have been fine.
He could have done with a Phoenix down. He definitely could have done
in that universe.
With that. Phoenix downs do exist in 16.
Oh, do they?
But they're
not a potion, though.
They're not a
potion. It's not even a potion in the fucking other games, is it?
No, wait.
It's a consumable. Oh, maybe
it's a potion.
Okay.
But I think... I remember seeing it. I remember reading it somewhere. Phoenix down is a thing. But I don't remember what it does. It's like something completely different. It doesn't like resurrect or whatever.
No.
But yeah, I think that it makes sense that Joshua came back.
Yeah.
Clive died. That's just how it made sense to me. But there are so many like things that point to it being the opposite, and I'm like,
What about that star that goes out and the Jill sees?
Meteor.
What is that?
That's the red star. that they pray to. We don't know a lot about their religion, but that's what they used to pray to in the Northern Kingdoms.
So
but it goes out because it's like a symbol of. I guess it's magic powered. I don't know what it actually is.
Yeah, yeah.
But it goes out when Clive wipes out magic.
Yeah.
So, there is that.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, it's just there's a lot of ways of looking at it, but I think that ultimately, like, you know, what Clive did is he succeeded. He brought peace, and you know, continued Sid's legacy.
And the rest of the people at the Hideaway make sure that the world knows about how to survive without magic, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, they had to, you know, everyone would have had to figure it out. And what I really like about the final ending is how ambiguous it is in the... We don't really know what happened to the world.
No.
All we know is that there is this one family in the woods somewhere living happily.
Yeah.
Which ultimately is what matters.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if there's these kingdoms at large with tons of people. Like, the fact that there is, like, humanity in the world that exists.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't lose their humanity. They didn't lose their, you know, their like, love and their will that Ultima wanted to wipe out.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's quite important. Because it's like, well, we don't know what happened everywhere else. Like, everywhere else might be fucked. We don't know.
True.
But it doesn't really matter because the point is that humanity goes on.
Yeah.
And I like that.
And I like how the two boys are there to symbolise Clive and Joshua.
Yeah,
it's like them if they never had the burden of being an icon.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I thought was really beautiful. And obviously
that.
the dog is like Torgal.
Yeah.
It was just very, very nice bit of symbolism there. And yeah, that's what I got from it. That it's, you know, that scene is set hundreds of years after the ending of the game, and it's in a world where it's been so long since magic existed that no one believes it's real.
Yeah, exactly.
So that means no icons either. No more icons. Oh, poor fucking what's his face? Fucking, it's the water one.
Leviathan.
Yeah, Leviathan didn't even get a chance to shine.
God damn it.
What's that other one? The fucking the summon from the old games. It's the big castle.
Oh, Alexander.
Yeah, he should have been in it. Who would be the icon of Alexander? It would have been fucking like Byron or someone.
Byron is Alexander. That actually would have made a lot of sense.
Just with the name Alexander, I assume him being like just a hearty fellow.
Yeah, that would make sense. God damn.
Yeah, so that's the story of Final Fantasy 16.
God damn.
It was a wild ride.
There is just so much.
And of course, they haven't even addressed that weird crystal off the coast of wherever the fuck it is that you can see in the distance.
Oh yeah, that is that weird thing you can just see, and you don't know what it is.
Yeah, everyone's like DLC, but it's like after watching the ending, it's like, well, how can we have DLC? Because Clive's dead.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
I don't want DLC. Yeah, I don't want it.
The game ends perfectly. Like, I don't need to see what happened. Like, I swear to God, like, literally, this game ends so ambiguously, and it's so similar to Final Fantasy VII. Not to ruin Final Fantasy VII, but the ending is just ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like, it leaves it up for interpretation in a way where you're like, I wonder what happened to the characters next.
Yeah.
Like, you know, where did they go from here? Like, you know, how did their lives pan out? And, you know, what happened to the world, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it leaves it on that note. And, like, I think that's so good. But then they decided to do, like, 25 sequels. And now I know what happened to them. And it's not interesting. And it's all bad. And
Epic
it just sucks. And it's like you ruined what was a wonderfully ambiguous ending just to get a little bit of money. Just to wring a little bit of money out of people for their love of Final Fantasy VII. And it just kind of sucks.
Everyone
loves...
Because
it's like, Advent Children was not fucking worth it.
Everyone loves Zack, alright?
Yeah, true. Everyone does love Zack.
He's so cool. My only knowledge of Zack is from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And I shall keep it that way.
Yeah.
Well, I won't actually, because he's going to be in fucking Rebirth, so no, I won't.
True, he is going to be in Rebirth. I mean, he was in Remake, so...
Yeah, briefly. Very, like, insanely briefly.
Very briefly.
I didn't even know who he was when he showed up.
The price of freedom is steep. Yeah. Protect your honor as soldier.
What? But is soldier not bad?
Oh yeah, don't worry about it.
What, is he just like a really devout soldier?
No.
Why is he chatting that shit then?
I don't know.
That's like fucking
bad.
Cloud going, being all proud of being a soldier. It's like he's not fucking proud of it.
Yeah, it really makes no fucking sense. It makes even less sense in the context of the game. Why he says that there, especially after what happens during the story. It makes no sense. It would be like, do you know what it would be like? It would be like if right at the end of Ghost of Tsushima, Jin fought bloody his uncle and was like, for the honor of the samurai.
Yeah,
like, that would make no sense. Like, dude, you've spent the whole thing is about you learning how the samurai suck. Why are you saying that?
Jesus Christ. Because it sounds cool, probably.
Sounds epic.
That's the reason why they fucking did it. Oh,
yeah.
God, okay. Well, that's great.
But that's my biggest fear for this, is that they do that to 16 and we get like a sequel because everyone wants to see what happens next. Like, people have no self-restraint.
The thing is, when I was like halfway through the game, I was like, I wouldn't mind a sequel in this world, but I didn't know how it ended.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know what the end game was, but now I've seen the ending, it's like, I don't.
No.
Like, I'm fine with the story being that. It's better like that. I'm not just fine with it, I prefer it like that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything you could do with a sequel that would make it worth it.
Yeah. So what would you do?
I really don't think there is.
Bring
because
Clive
we'd have
back
to
from the
learn.
dead?
We'd literally have to learn what happened to the characters.
Yeah.
They'd have to tell us what happened to the characters. You'd take away all the ambiguity, and it would just ruin it.
Because, like, the conclusion and what everyone was fighting towards in Final Fantasy XVI, it's bigger than the characters. Which is why the ambiguous ending is so good, because it's like the focus is on the world, not on what happens to the characters.
Yeah, and it's also very heavily implied that magic immediately fades from the world. Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah.
So you can't even do a sequel, because what would the sequel be? It's Final Fantasy with no magic.
Yeah, fuck that.
So, like, you can't really do it. Like, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
There'd be no icons. There'd be no...
ridiculous.
It would just be a lesser game. But that's the thing, right? If I know anything about Final Fantasy, it's that they absolutely do not care if it will be good. Like, they just care if people will buy it, which they would in their droves. Like, the amount of people that are like, I want to know what happens next to Jill. Like, no, it's good because you... Like, the reason it's good is because you want to know.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you should know. You shouldn't know. It's good because you want to know.
Plus, you can imagine it in your head. You can be like, okay, Jill, she got on with her life and, she became a nice little person who got to live with Torgal. And everyone else in the hideaway. Like, why would she leave the hideaway? It doesn't make any sense. It's
I don't know, it's just part of like basic literacy skills. Like, interpret the story for yourself. Like, you don't need Square Enix to spoon feed you lore. Like,
yeah, and also like,
imagine
stories are supposed to
happened.
End as well.
Yeah, like, stories are supposed to end.
The fucking MCU has fucked people up so bad.
It's like, it's ruined people's ability to consume media because they're just like, no, I need to know this, I need to know that. Like, do a prequel game with Sid. Like, no, we don't need to know. We don't need to know this shit.
Well, like, I reckon there are people that'll be like, I'd love a sequel set in the 13 years between the Phoenix Gate and Nicer Defile.
Yeah, that is such a thing people would say too.
I'd love to see what Wyvern
no,
gets
there's a
up
time
to.
jump. There's a time jump for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's not...
It's like, because he just kills innocents during that period. He just fucking lays siege to the lands because he's working for the Empire.
Yeah.
It's not good shit. You won't be happy
exactly.
seeing any of that.
It is crazy the amount that people just want lore. They're like, I just want to know what happened. Like, they don't understand... Like, people for some reason these days don't understand the concept of, like, vagueness for a reason.
Yeah.
Like... It's not vague by mistake.
No.
It's integral to the story.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened in those 13 years on purpose.
Because what we can imagine is worse than what they can show.
Exactly. And it's like, you look at, like, God of War, for example, right? Like, that game works so well because we have no idea how Kratos got to Norway.
For sure.
Like... We don't know how he got there.
And
we don't really know
saying,
why.
Oh, I'd love a game set where it shows Kratos' journey from Sparta to fucking Norway.
Yeah. Like, no,
it's like, why would you love that? Why?
Like the whole point is that he's isolated and alone, and we don't know why.
What people want
where
is,
he is, or
they want a God of War game set. The beginning scene is him falling off the cliff and going through the clouds. There's a bunch of weird fantasy shit in there where you fight loads of bosses, and the ending scene is him stumbling across a cabin and going, I think I'll settle here. That's what they want. That's what people fucking want.
The ending of the game is him carrying a log on his back.
Yeah,
like the beginning of God of War 2018. Yeah. And he sets it down, and he goes, I think this is a good place to call home.
Yeah. Or like that happens, and then there's like a flash, and then he's walking through the forest, and he brings his axe up and swings it, and that's where it ends, and it's like the first scene of fucking God of War 1. It's like fucking Rogue One has ruined people. It was that movie that started it.
It's literally Disney has slowly and systematically ruined people's ability to consume media in a reasonable way.
They fucking have.
It's insane. Like, the amount of people, like, the fact that people have done, like, fucking, like, Easter egg videos on, like, Oppenheimer. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's not how you're supposed to consume this film.
My favourite Easter egg was the Einstein Easter egg where he showed up. That was my multiverse of madness.
Oh, man. It's just so crazy. It's so crazy.
Fucking hell, Nolan is probably fuming.
I know. It's fucking...
God,
God,
Oppenheimer
it's
2.
just insane. Oppenheimer 2!
He makes a bigger bomb. We're going to need a bigger bomb. Oh, God.
It's set in a post-apocalypse, like, nuclear fallout.
Sake. And it's got Cillian Murphy with his huge eyes staring at everyone. That's the movie.
Jesus
shagging
Christ.
every woman.
But yeah, we do not need a sequel to Final Fantasy 16. We don't need a spin-off. We don't need DLC. None of it. None of it would serve any purpose.
It's not that I would be against a future Final Fantasy game having, like, say if like 17 was sequel worthy and then there was 17-2. Like, I wouldn't be against that if they did that.
See,
like, if it worked.
The thing is, right, I'd agree if, like, every Final Fantasy sequel wasn't dog shit.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've not played 10-2, whatever the fuck it is, or 13-2. Did 13 have a 2?
But, like, 13 had 3, yeah.
Jesus.
But the thing, like, that's the thing with Final Fantasy games. They're built to be a finite story.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they're built.
Mm-hmm.
So when you try and craft sequels and stuff like that around them, it doesn't work. The only time it's worked is Intermission with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that's because the game's not finished yet.
And it's a DLC.
You're able to do that, yeah, but like it's still like
a sequel,
doing that spin-off sort of story. It just works.
Yeah.
But like there are things you could do with this, but I don't think you need to do it.
The only time it'd work is if you're making the first game intending to carry it on to a sequel.
Exactly,
and then you're compromising the first game for the sake of a sequel, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's like, you look at. There are games out there, like I'm trying to think of a game off the top of my head that I can't think of.
Yeah, fucking none of them. They all have fucking sequels. Demon's Souls. Bloodborne?
Yeah, but they're sort of a bit different in the way they're built, aren't they? So it's like it's not quite the same. It's not like a traditional narrative.
It's barely even a narrative at all. You have to fucking read scrolls to understand the story of those fucking games.
I can't think of games that don't have sequels, but most games that have sequels are usually built to have sequels.
Yeah.
Like you look at like Horizon, Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Tsushima. Like they're games that are built with the idea that we will make another one probably.
Yeah. But Final Fantasy's whole philosophy is you have one universe, you enjoy it for a game, and then you're on to the next one.
Exactly. Like 16 is definitely not built with the idea of a sequel being made. If you make a sequel, it is at the cost of the integrity of the original thing.
It will invalidate the whole struggle of the first game, because it's like, well, if you make a sequel of 16, magic comes back, so Clive's whole journey is fucking pointless, and another threat has appeared, and it's like the whole point is that the world is meant to be, like our world.
Yeah.
Like after the events of 16, it becomes essentially the Middle Ages of like Europe, for example, and it's just that, and it's no one knows magic existed, and it's just Earth, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's just like that. Like the story is complete.
Yeah.
Like the story's been told.
I mean, that's why the book is shown at the end, I suppose, because it's like, you know, that is Final Fantasy. That's the closing. You know, we're closing this book now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like we were saying, like the MCU, Star Wars, and how those operate, I feel like it has ruined people's ability to consume a story and see it as a story. Like, like not every story is an excuse for a universe to exist.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you know, when you play this game, the point is the story. The universe around it informs the story.
Yeah.
It's not something that exists like separate. Like it's like every lore point they've built up in the history of this world exists to inform the central narrative. That's the point. Like this is the story they're telling. The reason we only see these parts of these characters' lives is because that's where the story happens. That's the point of the story.
The writers chose to omit certain things. I can't believe we have to fucking explain this.
I know, it's fucking crazy. But it's like, you don't watch, like... I'm trying to think of, like, something else. Like, I'm trying to think of something where it would be so fucking stupid to have this sort of, like, idea of, like, oh, we need to see every part of someone's life in. I don't know,
Breaking
like,
Bad.
fucking...
Well, I guess they did have sequels,
Breaking
though,
Bad,
to
like,
be fair, but...
True.
Imagine if they made a prequel series where it was like, oh, I'd like to see Walter when he was a teacher.
Yeah, it's like, no, like, why would we do that?
Or I'd like to see Jesse's adventures as Captain Cook.
Yeah. I think it would be like, you look at something like fucking... like Django Unchained, right?
Yeah.
Like Tarantino.
Oh, you picked a good film, because that's one I've actually watched.
Good. That's why I picked it, because I knew you'd seen it.
Okay.
And imagine watching that film and you come out of it wanting any sort of spin-off. Like, being like, oh, I need to see what happens in this fictional universe. Like, no, the universe, like, it's... the fictional world exists to tell a story in, and you observe that story, you've absorbed the story, that's the story. Yeah. That's the story. Yeah. Like, no one would ever make the case that, like, you need Django Unchained spin-offs.
Yeah.
And, like...
Django
like,
Unchained...
Like,
chained.
It's a prequel.
Yo, no!
Django Chained.
No! That's fucking terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it would give Tarantino an excuse to use the M word a lot, which he does.
He didn't want to make any more movies anymore. He's being a little fucking edgy boy, where he's like...
He is almost finished, isn't he?
I want to stop making movies. You fucking won't. He'll come back. He'll come back. It's an addiction.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, if you truly love the art form, there's no way he could stay away.
He'll probably go years without making another movie, but he'll come back.
Yeah, he'll have that urge. He'll want to make one.
He'll want
an
excuse to suck on some woman's feet again.
True.
Although he didn't even fucking write that film, to be fair. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Which film?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, right,
the
But yeah, he does.
Film.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But he does suck feet.
He does love feet.
He does.
But yeah, I think in the same vein as that, you look at Final Fantasy 16, it doesn't need that, like, you know, the story is the story we got. There isn't another story outside of this, otherwise they would have told it in the game where the story takes place.
Or they would have literally set up the game to tell another one if it was meant to happen.
Yes, if there was... Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, that's the same thing with Final Fantasy 7. You look at Final Fantasy 7 and it's like, that game does not set up a sequel. It absolutely doesn't, but they did it anyway.
And they fucked
and I hate it.
But everyone
loves it so much. I mean, do they?
Everyone loves Crisis Core.
Well, Crisis Core is a prequel.
I've not watched Advent Children. I don't know much about it.
Advent Children. I mean, it'd be fucking funny if you had watched Advent Children.
Yeah, it would be a bit
before
odd
playing Final Fantasy 7.
I feel like watching Advent Children for no reason.
Yeah, no, but yeah, Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, they're just not worth it.
Big fat shit.
They're
I'm just
like,
gonna play the
again,
remakes and see what happens.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do that.
What you need to do is play the Pixel games, and then you'll have the urge for more, and then play Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, most likely.
Because it's so good, you have to play Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, my experience of Final Fantasy 7 OG is trying to fucking jump on a fucking shitty texture in the fucking background that doesn't work.
Yeah, you'd probably get on better with it if you were
on my own.
Yeah,
most likely. Yeah. I mean, I
you could really
absorb
it,
but I also just found it really funny to take the piss out of, Mainly because you get annoyed
Ridiculous.
at me whenever I did.
Ridiculous.
Like that scene with Barrett where he's fucking.
That's such a great moment. That's a great moment. That's a great scene.
I don't even remember
You
the themes
bitch.
of that scene. I just remember the dude moaning and whining like a bitch.
No. It's supposed to show the disparity and how Barrett could have gone a worse way.
But it's a fucking arc where your best mate is a cat riding a fucking big ghost.
No,
How am I not meant
he's
to laugh
like-
at that?
He's not like he doesn't have to be there unless he's in your party.
Nah, well, look, we all love Kate Sith, alright? We love him. I can't wait to see him in remake.
We all love him. Well. He was in remake.
What?
Don't you remember?
No.
When they drop the plate.
Oh, he looks up and he's like, what the fuck is that?
No. What? No. When the plate drops, he runs out from the top and he looks down.
I don't remember that. But I heard this.
And he punches the ground.
I don't
He's like
remember that.
he's like so mad that the plate dropped.
Why? Why is he in Midgar?
You know,
So they're already up to their fuckery.
reasons.
So he's not meant to be in Midgar. Oh, unless there is a reason.
There is a reason.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a reason. It makes sense once you've played the OG. You're like, oh,
What
that
did I
makes
say a
sense,
second ago? He looks up and he goes, what
He
the
looks
fuck?
up. Yeah, but he's not on the Moogle. It's just the cat.
Oh, it's a Moogle. That shit don't even look like a Moogle.
Oh yeah, the Moogle.
It's
It's
a
just
fucking
it's a cat
ghost.
riding a Moogle. Yeah, that's Kate Sith.
The fuck is he enslaving Moogles for? They're an intelligent species.
It's not a real Moogle.
Oh, it's an inflatable Moogle.
It's like like an inflatable like robot Moogle.
That's
from the
why
God
it doesn't
Saucer.
look like a fucking Moogle.
Yeah, it's just a fat one.
But-
Nomura designed it, I think.
Okay, it does look like a Moogle, yeah, it does. But it also kind of doesn't as well.
It does when you realise what it is, but
Yeah, where's,
if you don't
where's the
realise what
pom-pom?
it is, then
What the fuck?
yeah, true. Where is it?
Why does it have such big hands?
Don't know. So it can hold the megaphone.
Is that what he speaks through? Oh, yeah.
That's his weapon.
There's
yeah,
a
it's
picture
megaphone.
here of fucking Kate Sith holding it. Official art.
Sometimes Kate Sith holds it. Careful, you're gonna get spoilers. I'm scared.
Well, not really, because I've just seen Kate Sith furry art.
Okay.
And it
well,
says
that's-
adopt
that's
me on
better.
his stomach. That's fucking mental. What was that? Right, okay. That's that.
Oh my god. Okay, that's Final Fantasy 16.
Yep.
Any closing statements? Anything else to add?
It was great. I loved it. I adore it. I'm gonna replay it on New Game Plus when I have the will to do it.
The will. Ultima wouldn't like that.
Ultima's sitting in my room, mate. He's trying to spur me on to play New Game Plus.
Ultima's sitting in your room.
Yeah. He's telling me to try and.
I
tell me to
imagine
put the
Ultima
PS5
sits
on.
with his legs crossed, like, like he puts
What,
his
like
leg
a-
over his leg,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
woman,
like how you'd sit. Like a woman? I mean, I sit
Yeah,
like
like
that
that's-
sometimes.
Well, like women and men on talk shows.
Yeah, you
like-
have to. You have to do that. Yeah, he probably does. He probably does, and he probably
I
sucks
imagine that's
cock
how he
as well.
sits. Maybe.
He might well do. Maybe there can be like a 6-hour video on why Ultima's gay.
Maybe that'd be sick. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Everyone go and watch the Riku is gay video. It's a fucking masterpiece.
Honestly, I love it. I loved
it's
it when I
so
watched
good.
it.
Yeah.
I've watched
George
it
couldn't
actually in
endorse it.
between when we mentioned
When
it
we talked
earlier
about it
and now.
last, yeah. Just quickly gave it a watch there.
I'm just a fast guy. I watched it on 2.5 speed, so it went really quick.
2.5 speed.
Yeah.
You definitely got it done. I mean, this podcast's long enough, that you actually could have watched it on two
I could
times
have watched.
speed.
Yeah, I could have watched.
You
Yeah,
could have watched it.
it's 3 hours. We hit the big 3.
We hit the big 3.
Is that the
full
first?
3?
Is that the
Yeah, I think
first Horsey and Fox podcast? Reached 3 hours. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Wow.
That's quite the big one.
Incredible.
Yes.
Well, thank you everybody so much for listening. Let us know your thoughts on Final Fantasy 16 down in the comment section below. I'm sure there is like something, like someone's favourite moment we forgot to talk about.
Most likely.
And someone will be like, wait, you forgot to talk about this.
And there may
which
even
I'm
be
sure
someone
we
else
did.
that are like, actually, you're wrong about this, and actually it's this and that and this and that.
That'd be useful. I'd like that.
And everyone, if you can't handle the thought of a game's universe ending, Play Final Fantasy 14 online because it will never end.
True. Or play Final Fantasy 7 because it will never end.
Yeah.
Sadly, it will perpetuate for the rest of time.
Cloud's lifeless corpse will be beaten with a stick for the rest of eternity.
They'll parade Cloud out on stage in a wheelchair.
It's over.
In the next game, you'll play as wheelchair Cloud. In the next game, that'll be great.
And he has his sword attached to one of his wheels, so it spins around and hits people.
That would be so epic.
That'd be so cool. I think they should do that.
That'd be even more epic than when he rides a bike and has like 70 swords in Advent Children. That's an epic moment.
70 swords.
So cool. So cool.
Hey, at least nothing can be as bad as Final Fantasy 15. Okay, see you later, guys.
see you later, everybody. We'll see you next week. Not next week, week after.
Yeah, that's
2
true.
weeks.
Yeah.
We're back to our normal schedule. Actually, I probably should say that. Actually.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
So I'll put this one out, and then we'll just be back to our normal schedule. So not next Monday.
The one after.
But the Monday after. So the 7th of August, we'll be back.
Fat easy.
Probably. So that'll be cool.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
See you later, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.